It's nice to see everybody. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to get order. It is June 6, 2024, and it's 6:35 p.m. And I will first do roll call. Terry Warner.
Here.
Matthew McGovern.
Here.
Laura Sanchez Feller.
Here.
She's here. I heard it. Mike McLeod.
Here.
Sam Houston Clinton.
Here.
Okay, if you would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
And then please remain standing for the invocation. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we do thank you for the rain, and we do ask for more, Heavenly Father, as we've had a drought for many years. Lord God, we just praise you for and thank you for this wonderful city of Martindale. And as council members, we just ask for your wisdom and your guidance. We have a lot of important decisions to make tonight, and we just ask for your discernment. And Lord God, as always, I just thank you for your gift of salvation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, we have some public comments. And the first one is Christian Palacios. Palacios.
Yeah. Should I just, sorry, can I just stand up right here? I'm not sure.
Oh, that's
I think
fine.
wherever you're comfortable.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
standing there. Okay, so my name is Christian Palacios. I work with Congressman Michael Cloud's office. I'm here today just kind of to show our support. Congressman needs to know, I'll let y'all know that we're full support of y'all. If y'all ever need anything, please let us know. I am y'all's field rep, so I'll be coming around the north side of this district. If you ever need anything, I have my card here. That's okay.
Yeah, I got one.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually,
I didn't think so.
yes, sir.
I thought so too.
Thank you.
Usually I kind of bring some presentation. Today I thought maybe I'll be a little informal and kind of just speak about it. So I work for Congressman Michael Cloud's office. We're at the district office. There's two spots, Corpus Christi and Victoria. And so what we do, the services we can offer y'all is we can help you find grants that you're needing, or we can also, if you're dealing with major issues, individually wise, like IRS, Social Security, immigration, whatever those services that you need, we can also help with that. I will point out that you have to have an existing case in those individual cases. You have to have an existing case, and then that way we can help you look at your status, push it, whatever you'd like us to do, we can do it. Beyond changing anything or like that, we can review it and help out with it. So yeah, I just wanted to be here. We are ready to work, so whatever you need, please let us know. Our phones are always open to y'all. Please reach out.
Well, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you, Christian. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
very impressed that you came to our little town.
The people are very nice.
And so you work for a United States congressman,
Yes, ma'am.
not Texas, but United States.
Yes, ma'am, the federal government.
So people might not know, is this recently placed in his district? Because before, I think Martindale fell within a different congressional district.
Yes, sir. So we, the lining of the District 27, it did change. So now Martindale is in our vicinity, in our district. So, that's why I'm here, kind of introducing myself, kind of wanted to show y'all a face, and then if you ever need anything, we're here. Our lines are open, always open. And we're just down the road. You just drive an hour and 45. We're in Victoria.
Just like going to Austin.
Just like that, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next comment is from Jeff Latimer.
Okay. I've been here about 5.5 years. Overall, it's been a good experience. Although I did run into one elderly lady early on, and I said, well, how do you like Martindale? He goes, there's some mean people here. Now, that just came out of the blue. I was like, oh, I wonder why she says that. And then I went to the workshop last week. I'm sorry, that was embarrassing. Okay, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Number one, Laura Sanchez Fowler deserved 5 minutes to explain all the things she had on the wall. There was nothing wrong with asking us to fill out little pieces of paper and going up there and putting what we thought about on each one. It would have taken that long. That was totally disregarded. She was totally, if I was her, I don't know what I would have done. All it was just commandeered. I got no problem with people feeling strong about the soccer complex being too close to their house for the noise and whatever, okay? I am not against that FC Austin soccer complex. That's fine. I would like to keep, it's not mine, but our green soccer complex that's in the park already. And if they want to put another one across the trail, that's fine. I think the youth or young adults or whoever wants to go out there and get some exercise, the more places, the better. Okay, so I had no problem with it being out in my neighborhood, but obviously some people did, but they did not play by the rules. I hate Robert's Rules of Order, okay? I don't think you should write any of these things without Robert's. I hate Robert's Rules of Order, but how are you going, I didn't even get my say at the very end. I started talking and somebody said, yeah, we've heard all this. That's good. We're good. We need Robert's Rules of Order. We need a police presence. And he would escort that one gentleman right out the door early on when he was told to shut up and he wouldn't. And we need consideration of our fellow citizens, okay? And you can start tonight. Most of the meetings I've been to have been cordial. Okay, sure, people get a little upset sometimes, but a little upset's okay, but not what happened at this last workshop. You can't call it a workshop. It was just a yelling match. It was no work got done. I'm sorry. And then the one gentleman kept saying, well, we don't have estimates on this and that. Well, FC Austin is supposed to build this soccer complex. I thought they were supposed to take care of most of it. Now, if there was some loose ends that we had to take care of, sure, we need to know about that. But I think I'll just stop talking. Just thank you. I was very disappointed.
Thank you.
Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeff.
Sam.
Good evening, council members, city administrator, and the public. I'm speaking to you tonight as a resident of Martindale, a citizen whose family has owned land here on the river since 1961. The 15 acres that I own on Southeast River Road was purchased by my step-grandfather, Walter Prescott Webb. There's a photograph of him with my grandmother at Friday Mountain Boys Camp that they owned in Austin. He also wrote the book called The Texas Rangers, which was copyrighted and made into a movie. My step-grandfather, Walter Prescott Webb, bought those 15 acres, as I mentioned, in 1961. I have actively been maintaining that property since 1980. I have worked on solving problems with invasive plants such as cabbage, mustard cabbage, and Johnson grass and bloodweed. I have made the entrance to the city of Martindale look good from the 1979 bridge because of the work that I've done on my land on both sides of that bridge. I am very proud of the work that I've done. Through the years that our family has had that land, we gave an easement to Bluebonnet Electric Co-op to provide the electricity for Bella Vista. That easement runs across our property and is at Al Hollow, which is the land that is in question tonight for putting in a soccer field. I also gave an easement to Martindale Water Supply to supply the water to the falls at Martindale. I also gave an easement to AT&T to have a fiber optic line across the river to the falls of Martindale. I also sold a half acre to TxDOT in order to build a new bridge, the bridge over 1979, so it wouldn't flood as it had in previous years. I've been through several of the floods here in Martindale. I've been through the 1998 flood where several metric tons of cubic yards of debris were deposited on that property. In the 2015 flood, as we all know, debris came all the way down from Wimberley, as did
The body of the woman that was found on the property across the street from me was found. Her body washed all the way down from Wimberley. They were only able to distinguish her body by her wedding ring. So I have experienced floods. The Doc Cochran property, which is across from Al Hollow, Doc Cochran lived there for many years. He turned that into a dump. He let people put landfill there in order to enhance the higher ground around his property. Also recently, where we had a bulky drop pickoff at 1979 and Southeast Road, that was a municipal dump for many, many years. The city knows that, and the dump fiber and the debris that was there is now encapsulated with soil on top. Because of the easements that I have given to the various entities, I have a lower gate going in through my lower field at Al Hollow. I have that gate there so the people that have easements can enter the field and maintain their valves and electrical infrastructure. I only found out 3 days ago that a proposed soccer field of over 3,500 square feet of concrete was going to be put adjacent to my land at Al Hollow. I'll just be a short time longer. I find that, and I knew in 2015 that my renters were stranded there on my property and had to be airlifted out by helicopter. I recently have investigated and looked at other properties that the city of Martindale owns on Tree Lane, at Cemetery Road, at Southeast Road. We have 8 individual properties there on Tree Lane, which is a beautiful shaded level location where we also have water meters in place from the past from Martindale Water Supply. To get water there to that site to where I propose the soccer field should be is going to cost less. Also, the proposed location of Al Hollow to me is not safe because of the traffic on Highway 1979. If people are playing soccer, they're going to walk across 1979 to possibly go to the river and swim. It's a very dangerous location where people go extremely fast. I have some properties. I have some flyers here, but real quickly, I'll say in this flyer, it says acquired properties must be permanently returned to open space or other approved uses that support or enhance a naturally functioning floodplain. After required payments have been made, the structure is demolished and the land is deeded to local government with its use as restricted open space. The land must remain open in perpetuity. These are the FEMA guidelines that are expressed in this 4-page flyer that I have multiple copies of, that it says in the last page that unimproved, unpaved parking lots only in FEMA buyout properties. The land at Al Hollow is a FEMA buyout property and thus should not have any impervious ground cover such as being requested by the city for a soccer field. Again, I reiterate and insist that the soccer field be moved to Tree Lane and real quick, I measured the Allen Bates parking lot. It's 65 feet by 120 feet. The soccer field, which is 50 by 70, could go on top of the parking lot at Allen Bates Park. I'm giving you 2 choices other than Al Hollow: parking lot at Allen Bates and Tree Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
There's one more public comment that was received online, but to Adrian.
Could Marcy, did you want to talk?
What was that?
Adrian received a public comment from Dan Miller. So it goes as follows. As residents of Martindale, Texas, we would like to register our support of the mini pitch program. We see this as an unprecedented opportunity to take advantage of the donation, the mini pitch court itself, as well as the generosity of the local residents and business owner that has made a significant cash donation to help fund this project. We see this as a positive action in providing more resources within our public spaces and a step forward in building the Martindale community.
Thank you. Thank you to Dan Miller. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak that didn't sign up? Okay, we're gonna move on to mayor's report. I just wanted to do a little recap on the bike rodeo. It was a lot of fun. We gave out 22 helmets to children. We actually gave away 5 bicycles. We had our attorney donate a couple of bicycles. We had Carl donate a bike. Sonia and Sam Clinton donated a bike. So thank you to our sponsors for donating those bicycles.
Thank you.
And our Justice of the Peace came and the constables, they did fingerprinting, gave those fingerprints back to the parents for, hopefully they'll never ever have to use them. But, and then the JP told me about a program for car seats. And so the two of us are going to look into that. That will be brought to us by the state. So I was really excited about that. The library also participated. They gave handouts and coloring sheets and informative sheets that help the children learn about safety. We had an obstacle course set up that the children rode, and it was a lot of fun. I think we only had one minor accident, only had to use one Band-Aid, so we were excited about that. Let's see, Anita Dillon, the Justice of the Peace, she also gave out coloring books from the state and coloring crayons that help the children learn about safety laws and everything and the rules of the road. So that was a lot of fun, the bicycle rodeo was. Then we go on to our windstorm that we had. It technically, by the emergency services, was not a tornado, although it felt like one. We had a lot of trees down by the Catholic Church. The worst damage that I know of, other than trees, the building that what do you call that? Storage building. Half of its roof got blown off, and that metal from that roof went towards the Catholic Church, but it wrapped around a tree. And then some of it was in the road, and we called Sean McDonald in the middle of the night, like 2:00 in the morning. And like he always does, he came running, and he didn't stop to say, am I going to get paid for this or anything? He brought his tractor over and he moved all that debris so that Lockhart Street wasn't blocked. There were a couple other places blocked, but people really went into action, as did Adrian. I was out of town.
That was unavailable.
Sharon was out of town, and so it was all left up to him. So he really took charge, and we're really proud of him for that. So tonight, I asked Sean to come. I wanted to honor him. And he was like, oh, please don't do that. But we did write a proclamation, and I'll write his name properly. We spelled it wrong on this, and I'll try and get him a copy tomorrow. So the proclamation recognizing Sean McDonald for exemplary service during the May 9th, 2024 storm for emergency road clearing. Whereas on the night of May 9th, 2024, the city of Martindale experienced a severe storm that resulted in widespread damage, including fallen trees and debris blocking critical roadways. And whereas the safety and accessibility of our roads are paramount to the well-being of our residents, particularly during emergencies when swift action is required to ensure that emergency services can reach those in need. And whereas Sean McDonald, a dedicated and valued member of our community, demonstrated extraordinary commitment and bravery by responding immediately to the crisis, working tirelessly through the night to clear out the entrance of Lockhart Street from Highway 80 to ensure safe passage for emergency vehicles and residents. Whereas Sean McDonald's selfless actions went above and beyond the call of duty, exemplifying the spirit of community service and the resilience of people of Martindale. And whereas the city of Martindale wishes to formally acknowledge and commend Sean McDonald for his exceptional contributions during this emergency, which significantly mitigated the potential impact of the storm on our community. Now, therefore, I, Catherine Glaze, Mayor of the City of Martindale, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Martindale, do hereby proclaim our deepest gratitude and appreciation to Sean McDonald for his heroic efforts and outstanding service during the storm on May 9th, 2024. In witness thereof, I have put the seal of the city. So that's what we are very grateful to Sean. He helped. with it. And I think that Adrian might be online or.
Yeah,
or-
so, city council, your reports, you have a letter from Adrian, detailing the expenditures. And if you have any questions, he's online to answer those.
No.
Of what it costs to clean up the debris.
Is that bottom line? No, that's.
So we took that money from the emergency fund.
Yeah, the total expenditure is 4,700.
Yeah, it was about 4,700. Any questions from the council?
Yeah, I have a question. I know when the notice went out, Matthew mentioned about putting the debris on your property by a certain time on that date. When I put it out on my street, it was picked up in a quick amount of time. Later, some people on 1979 put debris out, but perhaps maybe didn't know or didn't put it out in time. The $3,000 we spent to collect that debris seemed to be a quick Band-Aid and a quick solve. Now we're left with a lot of debris sitting on 1979, piles and piles of trees there. Some may have been put there right after the storm, some may have been put there 2 weeks from the storm. But now we are standing with a city that has got piles of debris along 1979. Can I have any discussion about that from anyone or how we?
What kind of
might
debris?
solve-
I could speak to that, actually. Hi,
It's tree-
everyone. So on that
Massive
subject, the goal of the contract was to clear the roadways. So alternatively to 1979, in Quail Run, there's a tree blocking the way on Quail Run. So any large emergency vehicles couldn't pass through. It wasn't necessarily a citywide private cleanup. The goal was to clear any kind of culverts that might be blocked by an excess of debris, any roadways that were blocked that weren't identified the night of the storm. There's another community member, Rob Devaney, had pulled the tree in front of his property out of the roadway, making that accessible in the middle of the night. Now, as far as private property owners trying to clean up their own property, our city webpage has a resource with TDS, the bulk cleanup. They are able to help clear up those brush cleanups, essentially. So if you have anything in your right of way or near your property that you need to get picked up, there's instructions on our city webpage.
Okay, and then though we did pay someone $1,000 to burn the debris in the triangle over here, and since then more debris has been dropped there, and so we need to figure out how to solve that because currently people see debris that's dropped there, and more has been dropped after the storm, and more debris is continually being dropped there.
Okay, I'd like to speak to that because
you.
we are trying to help homeowners with that debris because the state is facing a very hot summer. And so if we can get those branches collected and get them burned now, well, there's still a little bit of rain. We're trying to do that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But you can talk to the residents about everyone gets a bulk cleanup bulk pickup at the house as part of you get 2, right? It's not a lot. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not a huge amount, okay? It's like basically 2 garbage cans worth. Okay, that's the most they'll do it, but they will do a pickup. But they have to call. And then they send another vehicle out, a traditional old school, pickup, dump truck, garbage truck in order to put it in the back. Okay.
And they can call the city offices and we'll do it for them.
Well, just see if any of us,
Citizens can take trailer loads every month, one trailer load a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
To the dump themselves.
The county has,
Yeah, the
and we've
130
got
dump.
that information.
The one negative on that though is you actually have to put that in the dumpster yourself. So there, it is a physical challenge. Trust me, I've done it quite a few times. So just fair warning, you know, I usually make my wife do it.
My personal opinion, Mayor, I think, you know, people are, I think we should, while we can burn, I think we should let citizens, haul their brush over to there to be burned, just to help our citizens that, don't have a truck or anything to haul to the county.
Well, we do have to keep control and there's special rules from,
Okay.
who manages the
County manages the burn ban.
burn ban, but our wastewater treatment plant also has something to say about that. What's that organization that we,
TCQ?
TCEQ
Oh,
has
yeah, in
very
terms of
strict
mass burns.
about mass burns. So we can't really let individuals do it. We have to control it.
I mean, okay, we're gonna burn what we got there anyway, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Long as we're on the burn ban. Okay.
thank you.
Sam,
Oh,
this is Laura. I was just
Yes.
gonna mention that I think in order to directly address what your original question was, we probably need a sign put up there that says, please, like we are no longer collecting debris. So please do not drop this. Instead, go to or whatever, like call City Hall and arrange a bulk pickup and they'll come to your house or something to let people know to stop putting it there. Unless we're gonna do the
Yeah.
burning for everyone. And in that event, we need a sign that says, come bring your stuff. We're gonna burn it for you, but only yard debris or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to communicate what the plan is.
Yes,
yeah.
okay, we'll come up with the plan then, thank you.
As an ex-mayor, much of floods and burning, you cannot burn pallets and furniture.
Right.
It cannot be added to. a
That's
fire.
exactly, that's the TCEQ rules.
Right.
Even 2x4s, because they're treated.
Right. Yeah. 13 by 40, green lumber,
Mm,
but no plywood, no pallets. no
Just
furniture.
branches. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on to the wastewater report.
Go for it, Pete. Give us your stuff. Different angle now.
We've got to keep you active here.
Yeah. Sorry, late, because there was an accident down 35 on both, they had 35 shut down both ways.
Oh, no.
Where at? They were choking everything down with sand.
Trying to get into San Marcos, there was a,
What is that?
Two red, one deer, it's like north and south of us.
We had like two events, I guess, during that storm. And then we had some power outages at the main lift station and also at the Madison lift station. For about 24 hours. And I used wet wells just for storage overnight so that we can maintain service. And the other event was, we had a high level alarm at the Morganville Apartments. And that wasn't no storm, I mean, that was a squirrel that did that. They got on one of the legs up there, and knocked the fuse out of the pole.
Mm,
So that caused that, but it was corrected that I called Blue Bonnet and for both events in the state in close contact with state service and keep everybody notified. So, and go to the wastewater plant. We did no irrigation this month. I want to start probably in June. It's getting hotter and stuff. That way we have more evaporation and stuff. And we collected our normal samples and checked the pH daily at the ponds. And recorded all the daily influent readings, calculated the flow. What have you. And check all the wiring and the control panels and controls. And we have about 2.5 feet of freeboard. So I'm gonna start bringing it back down to. And we recirculated the road to have more DO and try to lower it. Increase the DO with this. And I got your message too, did you reply to your email? I'm supposed to be with a contractor to get it pulled.
Okay,
Right?
yeah. So what Pete's talking about is there's part of the grant that we received to do some upgrades at the ponds and Crockett Lift Station requires some oversight. So we're coordinating with our engineers and Pete on continuing to plan for that. I don't think we're anticipating construction anytime soon, but maybe later this fall into November.
Yeah, I want to be with one guy Fridays.
Okay.
And the pumpage for the plant was 1,292,775 gallons for total gallons. And we averaged about 41,702 gallons.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it increased a little bit. Because we got the restaurant now, obviously. Summertime, everybody's at home now. It's- Yeah, it came up a little bit.
Pete, did you get a lot of runoff in that rain, that 4-inch event?
I think we did, because, when I got there, it had gone down, and all of a sudden I got another alarm, high level alarm, we got influx. We had some infiltration in the system.
39.
Because you saw such-
So I've got a little stock tank, it filled it halfway.
Yeah, that was February.
But we did. And we averaged, well, we,
Remember breaking.
the maximum flow is 134,925 gallons. And the minimum flow was 26,850 gallons. Everything would have been all right except for that storm, and, you can't help that.
Right.
Anybody
We're
else?
grateful for the rain.
Yeah, we are, we knew that. Anything else from you?
Yeah, I had a question. On Southeast River Road, where it originates in 1979, is there an active sewer line that is functioning that runs along Southeast River Road to Cemetery Road, or is it collapsed?
Conveys water, if that's
What?
if that's what the question is. It will convey
Oh,
water.
up there, I know exactly where you're up there by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rainwater, running off the hill. I looked at it the other day.
So it's a collapsed line there.
No, it's just water stays trapped there because it has nowhere to go.
So it's not a functioning sewer line?
There's no
There's
home
no
connection.
sewer that's on. It just, it's like a bar digital.
So there,
It's a deadline.
previously, there were sewer connections. Those have been removed after the floods.
Mhm.
The plumbing is still there, and we do get infiltration of stormwater into that sewer line, and that stormwater gets conveyed to treatment. So it'd be inaccurate to say that the line's collapsed. It's just more or less abandoned and not maintained. But we do know we get water through that.
Okay, so we could make it function.
You can,
Okay,
it's up to the city.
It would
It's in a-
cost something.
It's in a floodplain.
okay.
But I misunderstood your question, but yeah, it's an inactive area.
Okay, thank
I
you.
thought you were talking about that pile of water up there on North Ridge.
Oh, no.
Okay. Anything else from you?
Did anybody else have any questions for Pete? Okay, thank you, Pete.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to move on to our 3.1, discussion and possible action on a motion to accept the mini pitch program donation agreement for fiscal year 2025. And I believe that Adrian, is it Adrian that's going to do this presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, Adrian,
this-
do you want to- okay.
Hi, everyone. So there's a lot of been discussion on this subject, about location, questions about financing, or the administration behind it. So I know there's a lot of contingencies. So for the sake of the presentation, I'm gonna go through it. I would like to keep interruptions as minimal as we can so that we can get to the conclusion of this conversation, okay? So on slide 2 of this presentation, we're gonna go over the overview of the project, the timeline of the project, about how staff came to receive this idea and actions that council have proposed to the public. Then the design requirements that's expected out of us, the responses from the survey and the results, and then options and considerations that council will have to make tonight to make this project work for this fiscal year. So on slide 3, just as a reminder to everybody, this is a pre-built soccer court, essentially hard surface. It's not really intended for regional or statewide or international use. This is more of a recreational field. This project is funded by the modular soccer court is funded by the U.S. Soccer Foundation and Musca Sports Lighting. They only build the actual goals, the acrylic surface. They do the painting, the lighting. It's up to the community to provide a location for it. So on slide 4, we were introduced this project about last year, more than a year ago. We passed a resolution in support of the mini pitch project. Just we were interested. Hopefully we can get it. And for a year now, it was presented to council that we got the agreement. We brought it to them. We needed to know more. And we're on a pretty short deadline. We're first expected to make a decision on the project on May 16th. We spoke to the U.S. Soccer Foundation. They gave us a pretty moderate to generous extension to the agreement to make a decision tonight. So on May 16th, council had assigned staff to make a preliminary design and seek community buy-in, which we did. So on May 22nd, we created the design, a project overview, what it might look like, and then a survey went live that day. On June 1st, we had a mini pitch project workshop that was held, and then today we're at the action decision day. On the following slide, kind of the requirements that were expected in a very rudimentary way, or very simple ways, that we just need a slab that's large enough, and we can't put electrical if we need to, but only expectations from the community is to have a hard surface for this project, large enough to sustain the project. Now, there's a series of options allowable through that the U.S. Soccer Foundation requires us to have. It's either 40 by 74 or 40 by 84. On the list is the series of possible dimensions of the slab. They do require us to have a 6 foot wider and a 4 foot longer field, so that there's some buffer between the grass and the actual soccer court. Slide. Under survey that went live on May 22nd, it was presented that this location would be on Hobson Ranch green space. We had 19 responses, and the way it was categorized was we presented the design, we asked about the operations, and what they thought about the financials behind this project. Second, on the following slide, thank you. It was, the project was, how would you say, intended to more for like the smallest size of 46 by 78. Now, the feedback that we got was people will like that size if we were to do one. There's no driveway access, no restroom facilities. They did not really like the amount of parking or vehicles that this would require to have. For fair use, they didn't want an extension of the sidewalk, and it had a 5.45 rating, approval rating. On the right side of the slide, there is a keynote to make, to be aware of. People found this project pretty favorable, just not at Hobson Ranch. I've been hearing a lot of comments about Hobson Ranch isn't the place to do it. But the people who were for the project, their concern was they would like to see more done, that the 46 by 78 isn't enough. So what we learned from the survey on what the expected design is not at Hobson Ranch, but they want to see more added to it, a more developed soccer pool. On the following slide, we asked about the operations. There's a pie chart that describes what people think the lighting should be. People would prefer to have no lighting included, that to naturally restrict the hours of use in the park or the soccer field. And we actually did have a pretty high approval on park ordinance. What we had done is we had listed all of the relevant park ordinances that would be applicable to this project. And we got a pretty good rating on that. So we're doing pretty good about what kind of regulations do exist. And on the last responses and results slide is the finances. People prefer that the city finds an alternative way to close the gap between funding. They'd rather that we don't use city taxes. We try to find a medium away from that. It's a bit of a split choice between use city taxes, use a parks restricted fund, or find another way to complete this project. And on the second question, the finances, people were agreeable to have some maintenance done and spent on this project. Again, another split vote on if the project should cost us $300 a month, or 0 to 300, or 300 to 600 a month. But nobody wanted to go over about 1,000. That is excessive. So probably a safe range is the city spends no more than $300 maintaining this project as far as our maintenance contract goes. Now, for council to consider tonight, to really choose what's the right option here, is the location that we got to consider is either Hobson Ranch, which has a very low flood risk chance. There's been talks about moving this project to Allen Bates Park and the phase 2 and 3 Cochrane property. I have pictures of every property in the following 3 slides. So Dan, could you move to the next slide now? This was the preliminary design. Again, it's a low flood risk chance, but it doesn't seem to be a right fit for this neighborhood. At least that is the feedback that we got. Now on the Allen Bates Park, I did this on a whim, and the location can vary, but there are other considerations to have about the floodway and kind of engineering or design or inspections is required, but it seems to be a favorable choice for the community is to put this with our existing parks. Now, the third option is also aligns with the survey to have this relocated to somewhere else than it's not Hobson Ranch. It's a low density area. There's no many neighbors in this part of the city. This is right across phase 1. It is located in a floodway potentially, but given the elevation that on this lot, if studied properly, we can make the argument that this is a viable location for the mini pitch.
Adrian, if I could.
Yeah.
We've actually investigated the property, and we found, I sent you an email, if we go further into the property, closer to Southeast River Road, there is a elevation change from that location. The elevation on the Google Earth on that particular where you're showing is 519, and the elevation of the upper area, which will support the smaller sizes, is 527, and it's no longer inside the floodway.
So
And
I'll
it's in
about
the
to address that
500
the next slide where we're going to enter
Okay.
discussion.
Thank you.
So on the next slide, we got to talk about the finances. So the donation that we're receiving to create the slab is $25,000. The quote for the smaller slab is $33,500. There's a $9,000 gap that we would recommend to use one of the following funds on the right side. But if you do want to do more, in the middle of the slide is a list of quotes we got for expanding the slab. that's it for my presentation. Now, they're back on the last slide, Jen, on the Cochrane property. As Matthew was saying, this area is significantly elevated, but there's considerations to have about having this fairly evaluated. So if-
I did want to make a comment about the Cochrane property. I did confirm it with our city engineer, 500-year floodway, and it would be floodplain. Yes, thank you. And it would be a viable option. We can use the lower area for parking. It would expand our park system greatly. I think I'm over the moon excited about this because I can see the possibility for walking trails being developed over the next few years, dog parks, things that if the water, I mean, we are going to have another flood someday. And so when that happens, of course, in the floodway, we cannot build anything. So that area that's brown right there, that is the 500-year floodplain.
I thought
And
that's the 100-year floodplain.
no,
Can you
It's
show us where that
500.
property is? Was your pointer, please?
I think it's where the red
So-
dot
so,
is.
Yeah, where the little red dot is, that's the reference point.
That's the reference point.
And
Okay,
so you'll see, night,
I see it now.
It is beautiful up there. You walk up there and it's like you're on top of Martindale. You're looking down and you're really not that far above.
So this is the original location. This is the road going in that Adrian was, and then there is a plateau up here. And up here, this is 8 to 9 feet higher than down here. And that's the property. That's what, yeah, Mr. Bunker was the one who even suggested.
Can you show it?
Location.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1998, that property was bought out from the Cochranes on the option of they did not have to sell. Their property did not flood, but they could not get to it for 3 days. They were offered a very good buyout because it was not a damaged house, and they took it. That property did not flood in 2015. But as mentioned, Sam's property down on Treehouse Lane, that body that was found by the woman was because it does flood over there. And that woman came all the way from Wembley on Method Cemetery Road. Whereas that spot there was high and dry.
This is tree, this, what I'm
That was an
circling
island.
is a tree lane.
Yeah, that's definitely in the floodway.
Can you show us Alan Bates, please?
Well,
Alan-
wait, let me
Alan
say
Bates is up
that
here.
where that red dot is not Owl Hollow. That's my
No,
property.
Owl Hollow is here. You're absolutely right. Ms. Williams.
That's
This is
my
Owl Hollow.
driveway,
This is, the property line is that magenta line that was drawn.
right?
And the upper side that is this little area right here. And we actually measured it, flagged it. It will hold the smaller size without any problem with room around it. It is out of the floodway. There's an actual picture showing you there's the Owl Hollow Drive or lane or whatever what it is. And this is the spot right here, up here where this road is where the proposed location is. So this is an incline as you go up. And then obviously this all kind of goes down. And then obviously there's a big drop in here as we're all familiar with. And that's where the burn pile is and everything else.
It's on the same elevation as your mobile home on your.
Yeah, all of this is the same elevation. And here are elevation locations. So the original location that we looked at before it was mowed was 519 to 518. The road is at 513. This is Sam's properties, elevation of 528. The location in question, according to Google, is 527. It is out of the flood anything.
Can you show Alan Bates, please?
I show you, Alan Bates is right here. The road is at 523. This is the basketball, right next to the basketball is at 510.
Yeah.
So we do know there was water in here. This is the treehouse lane that Mr. Clinton was referring to. The elevation here is that same thing, is at the 520 to 521 range. It's actually lower than here because as you know, it drops down and then comes back up.
So, Mr. McGovern, so you'd say the Allen Bates or proposed site would be, what would be several feet below the 510.
That's if we were to put it right next to the basketball court. That's what, so what Lockhart did is they took 2 basketball courts, okay? And they just removed one and they put the other one there. They're actually too long because the basketball courts are longer than the smaller one. So I marked out and measured it's 53 wide you need and about 90 long. That's more than enough. So if you've got, and that's what they're using, which they have plenty because again, it was a basketball court, which is bigger than the smaller 2 of the units that we're talking about.
I guess
So
my question is, the lower part of the soccer facility towards the river, approximately, what do you think that is?
Whatever it's gonna be within the flood hazard area. That would be subject to the flood damage prevention ordinance.
2015, there was a fence made out of drill stem that divided the Washer property from the city park property. Every bit of that fence and its concrete base was lifted up and put on the city property. We had volunteers come and cut that up and haul it off because the walkers couldn't afford it.
Well, there's still some of that fence there. It's just leaning over and we
So-
pushed it back up. I mean,
It's
it
a
did.
higher end, yes.
So, Mr. Bunker, so what you're saying is that much force took those fences out, they're buried in concrete, so that structure could be,
Yards of fence.
so that structure could be in danger in a 15 flood.
Because it is fenced structure.
So
I mean-
here, put it in another way. If we get elevation surveys done, the area in the phase 2, phase 3, it's really phase 3.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm freaking- This has been so long, we
Doesn't-
can't
doesn't
name our things. But anyways, that area up on the hill by 1979, if we get elevation surveys done, we likely would not need to go through as in-depth of a study regarding flood damage prevention because of the elevation. There might be some earthworks that's required to level it out some, but not, we'll be able to, I'm almost positive we'll be able to avoid any flood damage prevention related permitting work by going with that location.
And that's what our
Everywhere
engineers do.
else, it would be.
Well, on the southeast river road of the Cochrane property, there was an extensive amount of debris that was deposited on that land in 2015. It still is sitting there 10 years later, but the debris washed not only from the riverside, but from the back of Morrison Creek where it came through Mike Holmes's gravel pit.
right in here, Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it-
I've seen
so it isn't just the concerns of the flooding from the river. It's coming from the water that comes from the other side of Highway 80 that washes down Morrison Creek, goes underneath Highway 80 through Bacchus Lane and comes through Morrison Creek and comes to Southeast River Road.
1998 so important because 1998, the waters were higher than 2015. It actually came from both sides, Morrison Creek. It made the city of Martindale an island.
Right,
And the
my
other
land
places
was
that did
surrounded
not
by
flood,
water.
Your place, the Cochran place, and the block I live on, and 2 other blocks stayed dry. The
Yeah,
rest of the town was wet.
yes.
So that spot up there next to you is one of the safest spots in town because it's even higher than Michael's place.
Well, I mean, yes, that may be true. And as you mentioned, the Cochrans did accept a buyout. But I do remember once when their house flooded, and there wasn't only the Cochran house that was there. There was another house that was closer to Southeast Road. And so 3 houses flooded there.
This one right
And there
here.
were 2 Cochran houses.
There's 3
One on-
there's
one
3
on-
Crockett properties. There's 3
Right.
Crockett
The
properties.
one
yeah.
on 1979.
Right here.
on This side, not Cochran's place, that was used as a dump illegally, yes, but he
Yes.
was a squatter there. That house did flood, yes.
Yes,
But not the one across the street. did not.
Lily
That
House.
house is still there. and-
It is.
We're questioning why the county has never put that one up on.
We were talking
We're
about
working
that.
on that.
Yeah.
But I am concerned about the unevenness of the elevation there. It is not a really good continuous level spot there on the Cochrane property. Yes, it's higher, but you also not only have the easement of the Bluebonnet lane, Bluebonnet electric lines that go to the Bella Vista, you have those high power LCRA lines that go parallel to 1979 and run across the San Marcos River. LCRA has said that the easement that they're requiring is anywhere from 50 to 100 feet either side of those high power
And
transmission.
That's something that would be discovered through a survey.
So
But
this is the power lines that you're referring. The big power lines are up here. This is the power lines you're referring to.
I'm just-
And that's another reason why we did not put it down here,
Idiots.
was that this was going to be,
Exactly right.
this was going to be a problem with the power line. Because it is feeding, as you said, your property and the rest of the property downstream. And that was, and then Mr. McLeod and I were going to put it over here in this part. And then after it got mowed, we didn't know any better. Went down there after it got mowed and realized we know it was a little higher. But walked up there and said, this is, 8 feet higher.
You got a picture of that again? Can you put that picture up, Mr. McGovern?
Yeah, we got.
You have it where your flags are cornered?
And but I just feel that that corner of the high property there is almost the furthest away from our infrastructure that we have that currently exists at Allen Bates Park. We could put the mini soccer pitch field either on the parking lot or up closer to the basketball.
I think the
court.
point for city council to consider, and this was coming out of the workshop on Saturday, was that any location was going to likely require a flood damage prevention assessment by our engineers. Our engineers took a preliminary look at the maps and said, this one location of city-owned land might be a viable alternative where we don't run into flood damage prevention.
To do
issues.
the high.
That's all that we're discussing tonight, of
can
what
I-
everyone, for that
Can I
property
ask a
for.
question?
Yes, Laura.
Okay, so, I'm getting a little confused by the conversation. So right now is about location options. But
Yes.
we also have to discuss other things like the size and the whatever. Are those separate issues? Or are we talking about all of those at one time with the location?
I think the first question is, what do we want to explore this location? And then the next question is, what do we want to do about cost?
Okay, so
Or you could do it
with
reverse.
regard
If
to-
you don't want to spend a dime
with-
on this, then this project's over and we're probably going to the next agenda.
Okay, wait. So then with regard to location, there are, what I heard Adrian saying at the beginning is that there are a minimum of 3 options because there's the Hobson Ranch, which I understood us to be telling those people we were not putting it there, so it seems unfair to leave that on the table. However, fine, we haven't formally voted, but it was never formally proposed either. Second would be Allen Bates Park, and then third would be putting it at this other location, the Oak one, no, the Owl one that Sam was saying. One of his major concerns is that it would not be safe because people would be tempted to cross 1979. So those are the 3 options we're talking about, or are there more options? Because I heard, well, we have
No,
other
those-
properties.
You have it correct. Those are the 3 options that the city staff has put forward to council. Certain council members, I think Sam was mentioning another one on Southeast River Road. There's plenty of city-owned properties within the city. These are the staff recommendations that we're presenting to council for consideration. The others run into flood hazard issues. And so if you're going to consider those, you might as well put it in Allen Bates Park because it's roughly the equivalence in terms of, the headaches involved in doing it. And might as
Okay,
well
wait a
use
minute. Now, why are you already saying these other options have so many problems, you might as well put it in Allen Bates Park when it was presented that Allen Bates Park was a reasonable option? That's one of the 3.
So the city of Martindale has acquired probably a dozen or more, possibly 20 small little parcels of land spread across.
That's not my question. That's not my question. My question is, if Allen Bates Park is one of our 3 reasonable options on the table, then saying that the other 20 or however many they are as fraught with problems, you might as well just put it in Allen Bates Park, makes it sound like Allen Bates Park should not be one of our 3 options on the table.
Well, on the survey,
It's a, whether you want to have the expense and take the risk associated with placing a structure in a known flood hazard area. When you
So
put a structure
you
in a
don't
flood hazard
approve of
area.
that option, but the city council is the one who
No,
decides what option.
I'm not advocating for one way or another.
Yes, you are.
I'm,
Yes, you are.
no, ma'am. I said that the flood hazard area would require permitting an additional cost.
You won't shut up, just like.
Jeff,
Jeff, you're out of line, dude.
She's out.
No, you can't speak.
she has her turn to talk.
So the point I was making is that the city council can choose any of these options. There's only one of these options that is neither in Hobson Ranch and neither in a flood hazard area, the nearest we can tell. The city council can put this thing in a flood hazard area if it chooses. You're going to incur a greater expense and longer delays in order to greenlight that project as you go through the requisite engineering studies, hydrological analysis, and hardening analysis of the types of cages that they're putting around these things.
Okay, I'd like to say something. So we had a workshop last Saturday. I really want to commend Terry and Laura. They walked all the neighborhood in Hobson Ranch and talked to all of the homeowners there and did quite a bit of work. So we got 19 written responses on the questionnaire that we had online. So between the two, we found that over half the people in Hobson Ranch did like the project. However, in the workshop, we had 6 people come that represented 4 households that were very vocal. They came saying they wanted answers, but they really didn't want any answers. They just didn't want the project to happen. The first 3 homeowners were the first 3 homeowners that were closest to the project. So I think at that point in time, the city council members that were present felt like maybe we better go look for another option. And in doing so, that's when we talked to Randy. He was mayor during the 2015 flood. And he said, have you thought about Owl Hollow? When we went up there, those of us who have actually drove up there and looked, we said, okay, let's get this mowed because then we can see the land better. Mike Holmes is another hero in this city. He went over there within 2 hours after talking to him and took his tractor and mowed down the long grass so we could get a good look at the land. He's the one that suggested, he said, yeah, this is a good spot down where there's a big pecan tree, but look at this one up here. And it was where the Simon house had been. And so we walked up there and we were so impressed, and we could see out over the city. And all of a sudden we could see all kinds of possibilities for our parkland, because all of this area, I don't know how many acres it is, but phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we don't have real names for these parks. We haven't done anything with them until just the last couple of years. We started developing phase 1, and it is so popular. We have people coming from all over the state to go fishing, to go swimming, that we had trouble with the garbage. We were spending so much money just the porta potty and garbage that we decided to institute the parking fee. And that has helped tremendously in being able to take care of the park, which is now getting us to thinking about expanding. When Mari and I went up there yesterday morning, he saw tons of possibilities for walking trails and for dog parks. And so this little mini pitch thing that we're talking about putting in, that is, I think would be such an added amenity to our park system. Yes, Randy?
Being, as a sports thing, does that not qualify for some of the hotel tax?
Well, that's been in discussion, but later tonight, we're also going to be talking about handing that over to another group. So we'll probably let them handle that question later on to come in the future. So,
Mayor, question. We have two representatives for ATX, which is the charitable arm of Austin FC, which has coordinated the potential donation of the mini pitch. And they're here in support of the project, but also they would like to talk about their role and other types of programs that might also be in addition to simply the physical mini pitch itself. Could we take about 5 minutes and
yes,
recognize them and
please.
allow them to-
I think that would be great.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, good evening, y'all. Good evening, Mayor Blaze and council members, community members. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak. We're actually also joined by a third member who is actually online. She's Caitlin Morrow. She's our executive director. And she wishes she could be here, but she recently had a family member pass, and so she had to go to the East Coast and be with her husband's family. But she is actually able to speak a little bit more on the mini pitches and, you know, like Mari said, 4ATX Foundation, some of the work that we do. But really quickly, I'll introduce myself too. So I'm Jordan Martin. I'm our Senior Director of Programs. And we've got Horacio Pena right over here, who is one of our managers and who helps really drive some of these mini pitch initiatives in partnership with the community. So with that, I will let Caitlin, are you online?
I am. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We hear you well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you so much for having us and for giving us the time. And again, I apologize for not being there in person. But we just wanted to provide a little bit of extra context in case it's helpful for who we are as 4ATX Foundation. And like Mari said, you know, the other programs that we offer alongside the mini pitch program. So 4ATX Foundation is the nonprofit arm of Austin FC, the Major League Soccer team in Austin, Texas. And we have a mission of using the power of soccer to help Central Texas communities thrive physically, socially, and emotionally. We have 3 bodies of work that we do. The first is getting people playing. So we provide free clinics, we do soccer equipment donations, we give camp scholarships, lots of different programs and mechanisms that we can get children, particularly from low-income families, to be able to play soccer more. The second bucket of work is creating the next generation of leaders through soccer. So we have programming for students ranging from middle school all the way through college, particularly for first-generation college students, that combine soccer with education to ensure that students are on a path to success and can become productive members of their communities. And then the last bucket of work is the one that we're talking about tonight, which is creating safe spaces for people to play and be active in their own communities. One of the ways that we do that is through mini pitches, such as the one that we're discussing tonight, or the proposed one that we're discussing tonight. We actually just opened up our 9th mini pitch in Central Texas a couple weekends ago in Lockhart. I think you all were speaking about it earlier. And I did just want to clarify that this is actually a donation from 4ATX Foundation. So we partner with the U.S. Soccer Foundation, we partner with landowners, we partner with lots of different groups in Central Texas. But in terms of the financial donation for the cost of the mini pitch, this is a donation coming from 4ATX Foundation, which actually represents, and I see the finances right there. I understand that's the cost of the slab, but I did want to say that the actual cost of the mini pitch itself is $85,000. I do just want to mention that, in case it's helpful, that that cost typically encompasses the cost of lights. And so I think I heard somebody say earlier that the proposed mini pitch, that the community may not be interested in lights. And so I just share that because if the community is trying to close a gap in funding for the slab, that may be something that we can revisit alongside our other partners. So there may be some savings there that we might be able to reallocate. So I just wanted to put that out there. Finally, I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, you're
Oh,
getting
no.
a large nodding of heads.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm unable, everyone is very small on my computer screen. So the last two things I'll say, one is that we as a foundation, we really highly respect community input and these community input processes. I think as Adrian took you all through the presentation, this has been over a year in the making. And I just share that because Forward TX Foundation's role is to donate these mini pitches. We have seen firsthand how they truly can transform communities and their ability to bring people together. One of the beautiful things about these mini pitches is that we intend for them, once we get them built and we do the grand opening celebration in partnership with the city or the community, they're owned by the community. And so they're not fields that you can, rent out for a fee where somebody's making money on them. They're really intended to be an open space. It's park space, right? It's for the community to show up, be active with one another, get to know each other, be physically active, be social. And we've just seen, the ones that we have done, particularly the ones close by our offices, I can drive home, on my way home from work and see any time of day or night, those mini pitches are in use. And so we would never, ever come in and force a mini pitch on a community. We have a long list of communities that have requested these mini pitches, and we're so grateful that Martindale has been put on our radar as a potential location. And I just wanted to be super clear that, we are fully respectful of community processes to ensure that everybody in the community really does feel that this would be beneficial. And then the last thing that I'll just quickly touch on is this is just the start of what we hope to be a long-term partnership. I know we're just down the highway from you all. Just to give one example of ways that we have partnered with communities where we've installed these mini pitches. We are the nonprofit arm of Austin FC, and our colleagues at Austin FC have an affordable ticket program where they are sometimes able to provide nonprofits in schools from underserved communities and communities that we partner with as a foundation to be able to attend an Austin FC match. So that's one thing, we're working with Lockhart right now to get some of their students out to attend an Austin FC match. So lots of different ways that we can partner. And I just, again, wanted to thank you all for the time and for the consideration of this donation from 4ATX Foundation and our partners at US Soccer Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And y'all, we left you with one pagers just to give you exactly what Caitlin was speaking to. And then if anyone else would like one, Horacio has maybe a few more. So
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, might I suggest, in order to help the conversation, taking motions on the location and then proceeding to take motions on the cost?
I did want to say something to Sam. Sam, I think several of us probably feel that we're not going to stop you from using how you've gone across the country, that piece of land, the easement. I can't tell you that we're going to officially give you an easement because I don't have the authority to do that, but we're not going to stop you from using that, because where we want to put that is not where the road is. We would use that bottom area for parking. That's our plan currently.
Well, that bottom area floods too, and I know that Randy perhaps mentioned that the Lily Cochran house did not flood, but when the river floods, it comes up from that side and floods from the lower field and comes around, and it also floods, as I mentioned, from Morrison Creek. You say it's not in the floodway, but every other inch of land around that high spot is in the floodway.
It's about protecting the structure, not protecting.
Yeah, just the structure. The parking lot, nobody's gonna go up
We
there.
can't put a paved parking lot in there anyway.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm talking about the 3,500 square feet of impervious cover of the concrete that will be there. Also, I mean, normally when you talk about a project, you generally consult with the homeowners that own land within 200 feet of the project. I only found out about this 3 days ago by Mike thankfully mentioned it to me, but I have not received any official information from the city. This has been a quick thing here.
Sam, you're on the city council.
I only knew 3 days
We
ago.
only knew
that-
about this property 3 days
About
ago,
3
I
Sam.
only knew about you wanting to put it next to my property
Thank you so much.
3 days ago, and I
Okay,
only
so
knew about
I'm
it
gonna-
3 days ago. So
I'm
that's
gonna-
all I'm saying.
We would like to discuss the location of the proposed mini pitch. We had thought about the Hobson Ranch area. We had thought about the Allen Bates Park, and then we have thought about this Cochran property. Do I have a
I
motion?
make a motion that we put this mini pitch in this non-floodplain area off, was it Owl Hollow, right? Owl Hollow.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
And do we have any more discussion?
I just wish that we could put it in Allen Bates Park where it's more level there. You have the infrastructure in place already there with the parking lot, with the water that's there. It's a relatively level grade. The area that you're speaking about at the Cochran property there is not a level surface. It may be in that one spot by where that pecan tree is, but you've seen how it slopes down and goes
The
across.
area at the top, okay, is within a foot of elevation from side to side.
Governor, could you put the picture up again?
Put a photo,
Hey,
please.
guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So who's speaking is our attorney.
Sam, just a couple of quick questions. The Owl Hollow property is the one that you've been making some use of?
Not making use of, it's just that I have accepted the easements that I granted to various utilities, and I incorporated their access by putting a gate there at Owl Hollow. So Bluebonnet and Water Supply and occasionally myself can go through that gate in an easement that was there originally because the road was there. So that's why I am concerned about it, because I don't want Bluebonnet and myself and Martindale Water Supply to no longer have easement through there. And I am concerned about it being surrounded by floodway on all sides. I've seen huge amounts of debris on 1979 as a result of flooding. So that's all.
Okay, Sam, is it your contention that you have an easement across the Owl Hollow property?
Yes.
Okay, and where
Because
did
it's a road. Because it's a road that's been there ever since before the buyout, and it was there after the buyout. And so in order for me to help Martindale Water Supply to install their water valve there and Bluebonnet to have their easement, I allowed myself and them to have access to those easements by having the easement there by Owl Hollow.
When Mike Holmes mowed that grass, he said that road had never been there.
Let me ask you this.
The road is there because it's marked on a map as being Owl Hollow Road, and when the Cochrans lived there, that's the road that they used to get to their house that flooded. It is a road.
Right. Sam, let me ask you this. Has the easement been reduced to writing and filed in the county clerk's office?
No.
There is the driveway. Owl Hollow went all the way up to this location. This is the CAD.
And it shows that they're at the viable road.
Wait a minute, no. It stops right here, Mr. Clinton. It does not go into your property.
It stops right on the fence line.
It goes along the fence line because this is where the other property was located. There is property here, and there was a house up here, and there is actually a pole, a power pole right here. Because that's what's feeding the house.
And there was another house further down.
A picture of that bowl.
Houses that all flooded and have since been demolished.
This is the, we've measured it out. This is bigger than we need, okay? This is-
Matt, let me ask you this. Are you saying that there is not, that when you look at the appraisal district's website, it appears as though the area that is being used for access is not actually a road?
No, it's a private driveway.
Got it. Okay. But it's a private driveway on whose property?
Driveway. Here's the driveway that's coming up the hill to the proposed location. So the original location, before we went and mowed, there's a road that goes here that is being used. There's a hole in the gate right here that Mr. Clinton has open. It was open for the last 3 days that I've been up there. It is not, there's a gate, but let's keep out, but it's an open gate. And then this is the old driveway, if you will, that got to the top level.
It might be the case, Kent, that if we go back to the maps, that driveway used to be a necessary access for that. Can you go back to the map?
Yes, of course.
Well, it isn't a
For-
private driveway.
So
because
if
it's
you
on
look,
city
if you look
property.
at I don't know if you can read that from the screen share, but property ID 27894 or 04.
894.
That is a landlocked location. So it's likely that the Old Hollow was a easement of necessity for that old property owner
That was,
prior
that's
to
not
the city owning it.
Yeah.
But it did not, based on this picture from the Caldwell County CAD, did not extend to, I guess that's 27714, that larger property ID to the
No,
right of the magenta line.
This is the access. This is Mr. Clinton's access. This one here is no different than this is next to the park. This is the entrance to the park, and then there's the access that all these property owners have for this private driveway.
Which is
Private
not
driveway.
a real road either.
a
That
private
is a
driveway.
access to their properties that has been used over a long period of time. That is not an actual road either, but those people have been allowed access to those properties, and it is not a viable road, but those people have been allowed easements to all of their properties, as should I be allowed easement to my property. I'm only going on city property, parkland, to my land. I'm not just frustrated about.
What's the ID number again for the property that we're looking at?
27894.
Okay, got it. That's owned by the city.
And the one next to it that joins it is 27892. So these three properties here, 1, 2, 3, were all bought out at the, within a couple months of each other in, well, the actual buyout was in 04, believe it or not. The close was, I have a copy of that. I did print it out, the deed, and I have the deed restrictions, which basically said it can be only be used for open space or recreational use, a restroom, or any other structure that falls within the flood mitigation. But basically, it can't be used for, I can't build something and rent it out to a private citizen and conduct any other business on it. So the purpose of the land is to do exactly what we're using it for.
But it also says in this FEMA guideline, property acquisition for open space on the last page, that you cannot have unimproved, unpaved parking lots. And they say that you can have a park for outdoor recreational activities, but that you can only have unpaved parking lots. Why would they say unpaved parking lots? And then we're putting in a 3,500-foot concrete slab.
Actually, it's bigger than that, but that's okay. It's no different than when we're allowed to put a basketball court in. It's no different than us being able to put a basketball court in, and they do it all over the country.
What is your opposition, Sam?
The opposition is that it floods more than any of you ever have realized. It floods more there. It floods there. It floods all around there.
Flooded, Sam. I'm gonna call you out on that. As a floodplain administrator certified by the state of fucking Texas, he's my friend. I've been there in 98, I was there 2015, I was 2013, 2002. That land we're discussing is not flooded, Sam.
And I'll second that.
It flooded everywhere else around there.
There you
but
go,
not on-
around,
not on
Sam,
that-
around.
not on that.
We agree with you. And we're trying not to put it at Allen Bates where we know the elevation's only 5'10".
At Allen Bates.
Mhm.
It's 17 feet lower.
What happened to the master plan that we were gonna do about the city and about all these parks? All of a sudden, we're just jumping into doing this when we have no master plan for.
Well,
That's
and you
what we're
advanced the
working on. We
previous
have a
workshop,
plan.
we discussed that.
Working-
You missed a good workshop.
Yeah, you missed a good workshop.
Yeah, you missed a really.
We actually
good-
discussed
The
that.
bottom line, folks, is we have land, city land here, and we have an opportunity, thanks to Maury and the foundation, to do something good with our parkland. This is the first major improvement we're gonna have. It hasn't flooded. We have eyewitnesses. I talked to Jerry Cochran, who lived there personally. He said the house did not flood. But the reason he took the buyout, because he was surrounded by water, like an island. And he was trapped for 3 days, and that's why he sold the property, and he got a good price for it. And he sold it, and he built this house in Prairie Lake. So that's, we know it did not flood. We know it did not flood in 15.
Okay, so just so we're my position on this is clear. We're talking about what appears to be Owl Hollow Lane. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Sam, I'm gonna take what you said earlier. There is no written easement filed in the real property records, so there could be no express easement.
No, there could be a prescriptive easement.
No, there cannot be a prescriptive easement. Hold on. I don't believe that there can be a prescriptive easement, and here's why. To have a prescriptive easement, you must meet the elements of adverse possession, which means that the use must be open, adverse, continuous, notorious, and most importantly, hostile. Without hostility, a prescriptive easement can never arise. What that means is there has to be a moment in time where someone says, you better stop using my land. And the user says, I'm going to use it no matter what. And then they continue to do it for a sufficient period of time. And absent that hostility, a prescriptive easement will never arise. The other point is, what the case law says is that continuous and open use, no matter for what duration of time, will never ripen into a prescriptive easement without all of the elements of a prescriptive easement being met. And so it doesn't matter. People could use this for 100 years and have an expectation, but unless they can prove all of the elements, namely hostility, then it can't exist. And what the law generally says is that in the absence, prescriptive easements are not favored. And so unless you have a scenario, pardon my voice, where a property is landlocked, which of course then there's an easement by necessity that arises by operation of law. But in the absence of some other indications, the law does not favor prescriptive easements.
But you just said it was landlocked.
No, it's not.
It's access on Southeastern Road.
Landlocked in a flood.
In a flood.
Yes, but that doesn't
I
constitute
I
landlocked.
accidentally remuted, but
Okay.
okay, I get it. I understand.
Well,
Yeah.
if we put it anywhere else, it'd be even longer,
No, I know, I'm
potentially.
just saying,
So,
it's not.
Okay, we have a motion on the table and we have a second. I think it's time to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Laura, how do you?
I vote
nay.
nay,
Two
thank
nays?
you.
2 nays and 3 for it, the motion carries. So we don't need to talk about B or C.
But I'm curious because we're talking about 3(1)A says discussion on location of proposed
No,
mini
the
pitch.
first
It
one
doesn't
said,
say action.
the first one says discussion on location of proposed mini pit. And so now we have selected.
No, it
that-
says discussion action on motion to accept mini pitch program donation agreement.
Yeah.
That's the action. The action is not to to take an action on the location. It says discussion on action. I
The
mean-
three,
I mean,
the other
discussion
three,
on location. What does 3(1)A say?
the other three are pertain to the first one, and the first one is discussion and action.
On donation, but not on location. It says action
Councilman
on
McLeod,
donation.
would you like to amend your motion to include accepting the donation from the mini pitch program?
Yes, I'll make the motion to accept the donation of 25,000.
No, of the mini pitch program.
I make a motion to accept the donation from the mini pitch program.
Program and the location would
And the
be,
location to be Owl Hollow.
okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Laura?
Laura? She was for the mini pitch.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I kept saying it and I was muted. I said nay, but thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, so the motion carries. We will accept the mini pitch program and we will put it in Owl Hollow. And so we don't need to address B and C. So we are going to go to 3.2, discussion and possible action. Motion for approval of 2024 marketing plan and use of the hotel motel tax funds to be managed by Visit Martindale, a 501c6 organization created for the purpose of supporting local businesses, increasing tourism, and promoting overnight stays.
There,
And-
excuse me.
Yeah, could we
There's
get
still
clarity
few.
from council on the sizing and cost?
Yeah,
The sizing and cost.
Size of the slab. Yeah.
we're gonna, I'm assuming we're doing the quote.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
50 by 84? Is that what?
No, it's 46 by 78. And that is the size that, Lockhart is using. They're actually using the longer one, but the same width. So it is only the 40 on the ID, 40, 40,
Yeah,
40 on
it's
the ID.
50 by 84.
I got this quote
that
from the
be-
U.S. Soccer Foundation on the.
That's the OD.
I didn't mean
The
the quote. I meant the Lockhart Field is 50 by 84.
That's the outside dimension. It's the inside dimension is not 50. The inside dimension is 40, is under 50.
I don't,
Doesn't matter.
I disagree, but I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just
Well,
trying to tell you what I
The smaller
understand.
one fits on the property location that we have, for sure.
That's you're right, we measured it and that's.
It's 50, we measured 53
It's
by
fine,
90.
it's fine. I'm not disagreeing. I was just
No,
telling.
no, I
you-
just want to clarify, we have enough space, that's all.
Yeah,
We
that's
measured
fine.
53 by
That's
90.
totally fine.
So didn't they say something about it has to be 6
That's
feet?
why we're taking the 40. I measured 53.
Gotcha.
Because that's how they had in Lockhart, they're taking over basketball.
Mhm.
So I used their excess as give myself a lot of wiggle room type of a thing. So we went over, I made sure we had more than enough room. 'Cause I want to be able to get the equipment around, to pour the slab. And
Adrian,
do
can
some
you
level.
clarify the slab size is the options that we have to choose from? Is 46 by 78 a slab option, or is it just the quotes starting at 50 feet?
No, that is the slab option, the 46 by 78.
Okay, thank you.
I just wished I would have been included in the measurements and the discussion of this. All this was done without any privy of any information to me. I'm the most impacted landowner, and I feel like you only gave me 3 days' notice. You had a meeting there, you had a meeting, all these people had meetings, and nobody
It's
included
a
me.
quorum.
It doesn't matter, then make it a quorum meeting there, and let's have it
I'm not
there.
gonna break
You
quorum. You called me
intentionally-
today and I didn't
I
answer the
was
phone.
intentionally
Stop.
these meetings.
Can we please have this discussion later, because
No, it's already passed. There's
specifically
nothing to discuss anymore.
called you to warn you.
It's fine. It's already
Okay.
passed.
Right. Okay, what else do we need to clarify?
It would be useful if the city council could pass to vote on a size and then also vote on a funding source. to use on this. So
Okay, thank
the
you.
sizes are ranging from 46 by 78 at a cost of 33,500, all the way up to very, very large and close to $80,000. And then the different options for funding are using the park restricted fund, park general fund, or long-term capital fund.
I think,
I think the depending on the size of this, if it is probably the park general fund would be the first source to use. And then proceeding from there on the long-term capital fund.
So we're gonna vote on.
and I think it would be good to also explore what the Soccer Foundation said, that if we don't include the lighting, that
Yes.
there's a possibility
agree.
of moving some of that money
Great
towards
point
the
there. Great
payment of the
Yes, I didn't know
slab.
that was an option, and when she said that, I was kind of surprised.
That's a great
Yeah,
option.
I didn't know it was an option
Yeah.
either.
I would very much agree with you on that. It would reduce the cost of bringing power there. And obviously it's gonna assist in keeping the cost down from the slab, and they're willing to help.
And we,
That's a win.
and we ensure Stark Sky compliant. You know?
Okay, so if we had a motion that included the size and accepted the donation of $25,000 and included the possibility of exploring the additional funding from the Soccer Foundation, I think if there was any more expense, maybe take it from the long-term capital fund or whichever fund that the council chooses.
I'm open.
Well, how do we vote on it if we really don't know how much?
Wait, we voted on the size of the slab yet, though?
You can do it not
We
to
do.
exceed limit.
Yeah, you can do it
Okay.
up to.
So we have a 33,500 is
We
the
gotta make,
vote.
we gotta make some motion.
I mean, I'm just giving some content. so it's
He's
familiar.
answering her question.
So make sure you say not to exceed, right now that's saying 10, but that's a pretty tight number. So you maybe pick a number like 12,000, not to exceed 12,000. And then we would include a comment like the mayor say, please have the city staff, direct the city staff to explore the option of saving money by not doing lighting. With
So
that,
if we vote on this and it does, we do find out it exceeds the amount,
We'd have to
voted
come
on,
back
then
and
we have
vote
to
on
vote
it.
on it. Okay.
you have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, it cannot go beyond. So, yeah, as a rule of thumb, you're like, okay, that's, you only got $1,500 of wiggle room, so that's not a lot of wiggle room, so.
Plus we have to put it in park.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put it crushed.
So it's probably gonna be about $3,000 to $5,000.
That's down the road, that's down the road.
Okay, so if I could have a motion, please?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the quote for the 46 by 78 slab and additional costs not to exceed, excuse me, also accepting the donation from our esteemed citizen here of the 25,000 and not to exceed 12,000 additional funds to do this, and then encourage the city staff to find a way of saving money by not doing the lighting and see if the nonprofit will assist us in reducing this cost.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion
Wait,
carries.
we hear from
We didn't
Laura?
hear from Laura.
Laura?
Oh, I'm
might
sorry,
be
I
muted.
was muted again, but yeah, yes.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Thank you.
council. I had a question about, would you want to use the parks restricted fund first or the general fund first? What fund is,
The long-term fund, isn't that what we said?
It wasn't made in the motion.
Oh, it wasn't in the motion.
Oh, it's always something. I have to modify my previous motion to include, how do we want to do this?
I think either using the general fund, restricted fund, or capital fund are viable options. The benefits of using the park restricted fund right now is primarily being used to pay for our maintenance costs. And so there's probably going to be, I don't know, say $10,000 more coming out of that. So there's not a lot that's going to be in that restricted fund. That restricted fund also, because it's restricted, acts as a savings account of sorts. So for something like this at $12,000, we could use the long-term capital fund that's typically used for street and road repairs that extend the life of a road surface, like such as an overlay. It does not pay for pothole repairs. Or the Parks General Fund, with any remainder coming out of the capital fund.
Where did the money from Lanzola on the swap, where does that money, where does that
Oh,
money go?
that wasn't
Long-term
in,
capital fund.
that's, oh, okay.
Okay, so that's where we'll pull the money. We're gonna take the thought process of them giving us that money in swap for, instead of land. We're gonna apply this towards the parks, if you will. So I amend my previous motion to use the long-term capital fund.
Quick question. I think we discussed this. Can we use our hotel tax?
No.
No, cannot. Okay.
I had a question though. I thought that the maintenance that we've been paying for in the parks, that we were paying for out of the general park fund and not out of the park mobile fund, that we were trying to spend down the money in the monies that the city gave to the parks and use that for the maintenance and hold the money that we're making off the park mobile in the restricted fund. So we see over a certain period of time, how much money that brings in, and when we were gonna hold that money back for special projects. This is news to me that you're saying tonight that the money for the maintenance of the parks is being used out of the restricted fund and not out of the $24,000 that the city gave for the parks. Because if we don't use that $24,000 that the city gave in the fiscal year of this fiscal year, it goes away and it goes into the general fund. I understood that the maintenance of the parks was being paid for out of the general park fund, and the money was being held back in the restricted fund for special projects.
I might have misspoke. If you want, we can address that as a future agenda item on where that maintenance is being expensed from. My understanding was that it was going to be used as a restricted fund. That may not be the case. We don't have a financial report to refer to tonight. I'd like to table that issue and discuss it with council.
Well, then I'd rather not say that the money, the extra money to pay for this is gonna be paid out of the restricted fund if you're already
Well,
claiming that. it's
the
being
motion,
used
the
for
motion I made,
maintenance.
Mr. Clinton, was I'm taking it out of the long-term capital fund. I'm not
Capital
touching the park funds.
Yeah,
Okay, well, then we need to talk later
We'll put
about the
that on the
monies
next-
from the
That's a very good
restricted
point.
fund being paid for the maintenance, which is something that we had discussed before. And I understood that it was not gonna be used for maintenance.
we'll put it on the
Excuse me,
next.
everyone. I actually could answer that real quick. I checked the Park Mobile Fund. That is the answer received from the Park Mobile website. And that we have not been using the Parks Restricted Fund to pay for the mowing fees.
Okay,
We started this
that
fiscal
answers
year with about
my
20-something
That's
thousand.
what I
You-
thought we were using the
You
regular.
perhaps misspoke then.
Yeah, it's okay.
It happens.
You had a tough.
I just wanted clarity on that was all. Thank you.
So I made a motion.
And do
Modified motion.
we have a second?
I second that, Mr. McGovern.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can all in favor, please say aye?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Okay, then there is none opposed. The motion carries. Okay, we have that taken care of.
Thanks, Mayor. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, it's good to get it all taken care of, otherwise we're hanging. Okay, so we will move on to 3.2. I've read that about Visit Martindale, and I believe we have a presentation
Yeah,
on
that
that.
could be a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, so there's a recap.
Yes. Is that something we're gonna pull up?
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been chaos today, dude.
She's a trainee and
Play
she's doing
pickleball
great.
in the mini pit?
Okay, so after the first 5 years, you can't paint. Because they do a tournament every year.
Yeah.
After the 5 years, you go. That doesn't mean we can't do temporary stuff, okay?
All right.
I'm with you. I want to pickleball too, okay?
Okay,
Don't
good.
get me wrong. yeah.
All right. Well,
I'll be tipped.
I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to present. For those of you that are new on the council, we've presented a few times before, and we've made progress every time. And now we're at the point where we've actually created an entity called Visit Martindale officially. We've got recognition from the state of Texas, Secretary of State of Texas. We have an EIN number so we can do our
Open a
taxes and
bank
all that kind of
account?
stuff. So we're an official 501c6 organization. It's called a business league, and it's similar to a chamber of commerce. We'll have quarterly meetings, we'll have minutes, and we'll have reports that come back to the city every quarter on our progress. So just to recap, the last meeting, which is a couple of months ago, the city council voted and approved a measure to at least consider allowing a third party to manage the hotel and motel tax funds. And so we went back and did some homework and created a marketing plan which we're presenting to you today. We're hoping that you choose us, Visit Martindale, to help partner with you to best use those funds. We do have a URL. We purchased a URL called visitmartindale.org, which we hope to build and be kind of the hub of a lot of our marketing activities. And the goal is really to promote tourism, to bring more people into town, and to ultimately, what we say, more heads in beds. So things that relate directly to people staying in our local Airbnbs, short-term rentals that will fund the hotel motel tax and be sort of this circular loop where we can drive more economic prosperity for the city of Martindale. And it's not just downtown. We're going to be soliciting membership from citywide. And the way we look at it is, people are coming, say, from San Marcos or Austin or San Antonio. They're driving through and they're going to stop at Hermanos and they're going to, go to these other places. And so just through the sheer visitation, we're going to hopefully help other businesses as well. So the next slide, please. So our purpose as I promote tourism, we're going to be generating hopefully more revenue for our businesses, which we will be measuring and reporting back to you guys. Some of the ways that we can do that is through the website, through clicks. We can measure social media campaigns, so things like traffic through the ads, clicks, likes, shares, and there's all kinds of analytics and metrics you can get from these companies when you advertise. The next slide, please. So overall, what we're presenting to you is a 6-month plan. Moving forward, we'll do an annual plan and we'll include a lot more activities. A lot of the things that we're planning on doing are one-time activities, and the costs are going to be that much higher because we're starting right off the bat. So we're going to have money to create signage, money to build the website, money to create the logo, and all these branding activities be kind of one-time things. So that's why you're going to see more money spent right off the gate initially to build this foundation, kind of a baseline that we can then use in subsequent years to help drive marketing programs. So we're looking at advertising on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere we can to get measurable results. We're looking at doing signage on Highway 80.
Can I say something? That's always been my priority for the last five years, to put a sign. I was against the billboard.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be associated with the tubing companies.
Yeah, sure.
And I was against it.
Yeah.
But I would like you have in the Northeast, have a really nice handcrafted sign at the intersection of 142 and 80.
Yeah.
I personally know the owner that owns Guadalupe Gas property. I know him personally.
Yeah, they're great guys.
Perhaps I could talk to him about putting a sign there.
That'd be wonderful.
And then we could put a clip on there, water sorry,
Sure.
chili cook-off, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's always been my pet peeve, to have that sign to advertise the city.
Well, it's ours too.
So that's, to me, okay, so I'm just saying, one more thing, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, no,
To me, of all this, that would be the number one priority.
Okay.
Get
I
that.
appreciate that, and that's definitely our number one priority as well. And you'll see that when I go through the budget.
Okay.
But we have, just a few core priorities to start off with, and then we'll be spending more money on other stuff. But signage, the number one, and we're gonna have not just a sign here and a sign there, but we're gonna have a sign program. We're gonna have 4 or 5 different areas of signage. We'll have signage like you're talking about, and Mara and I have talked a lot about maybe doing historical district signs, or there's a program called the City Pride sign that's done by TxDOT, and they'll allow you to put signs that say Martindale and civic organizations underneath that. The caveat with that. What's that?
What?
I said, like the Lions Club.
Like the Lions Club.
me up, boy.
The caveat with that is those have to be near city limit signs, and our city is very stretched out, so it doesn't solve the problem of, hey, come down 142 to downtown. But we're on the case, and that's definitely our highest priority.
Do you want me to reach out to my friend who owns that property?
Yes, please
We'll
do.
do that.
Yeah,
Put
please
it on
do.
my list.
So how we're gonna work with the city. So normally it's June and we're doing a half-year program, but normally we meet with you guys every December. Our fiscal year is gonna be January through December. We present a plan. We'll describe the marketing programs and the budget. And that's what we're doing right now. And our ask of you is to hopefully approve this today so we can get started for the rest of the year. But generally, every year we'll meet with this, in December, present the program. Upon the approval of the program, the city would transfer funds to the Visit Martindale bank account, and then we would administer and manage the funds. What we want to avoid is having to come back to the city and, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And it just gets all bogged down. And we're hoping that you'll trust us with a quarterly check-in. So we'll, every quarter we'll check in and say, here's the things that we've done. Here's how much money we have left. And maybe you can work with us. And here's how much money we've collected from Airbnbs, and this is kind of our revenue rate going forward, kind of work together like that. So that's how we would hope to do it. And I think is there one more slide after this? Yeah, here's the actual budget. So right now, we've got the current amount in the account is 49,000. That's the current balance. But the things that we hope to do, and literally starting, if we get the go-ahead, we'll start this week meeting with Giant Noise, who's our advertising agency that would work on the logo for us. But we have a little bit of admin cost to get started. We do the logo. The 5250 is a hard cost. It's an actual bid from Giant Noise to do the logo. And then we have some other things that are a little more ballpark that might shift a little bit, but Mari and I both have a marketing background. We have a pretty good sense of how much these things cost.
What does the logo look like?
We don't have it yet. We haven't hired them yet. That's what we want. We're hoping for you to say yes, and we'll go hire them and they'll do the logo.
Okay.
And then we'll work with you guys and say, here are the couple options and that kind of stuff. But, so website design and hosting, we're looking at about 4,000. Graphic design services. So that would be not only the logo, but creating different versions of that for social media campaigns, for the signage that we do. And it's not just a logo. When I say logo, and that's the thing that people think of, like the state of Texas logo, but it's broader than that. It includes color palettes, it includes taglines, it includes a lot of sort of research that goes into it in terms of who are our demographics and who we're trying to reach and where do they live, what kind of things do they do, why do they come to Martin? And so all of those things will go into like a branding ID package, just the same thing as if you started a new business. It would be the same exact process. So moving on, we've got, if you go back up to the budget, I just want to recap that. So ad campaigns and social media advertising, that's advertising costs. The next thing is the TxDOT City Pride sign that I told you about earlier. That's something that we can get started immediately. The state of Texas will allow us to put signs. It's within 800 feet of the city limit sign. So wherever we have a city limit sign, because the first one is over by 1984, like right before you get to the Stack and Pack. So we can have one there. They can be 8 by 10. We would pay for them, and they're 2,000 each. That's why it's 6,000. Put the other one down by wherever the city limit sign is down south, and then perhaps one coming from Lockhart on 142. That's kind of what we're thinking about right now. Pursue other signage opportunities, and this is to your question, Mike. We put in $10,000. We may not be able to spend that much between now and the end of the year, but at least we want to earmark that to, we may have to build the sign. Maybe that's $3,000 or $4,000. And then we may have to do a leasing agreement. Maybe it's a leasing agreement with the Guadalupe Gas Company or Jane Latham or whoever owns property into a, some kind of monthly fee that we could pay to have, or maybe it's a billboard, or
What do
maybe
you
it's
think?
Jack Mudd's place.
What do you think is the best place to put the sign?
at 142 and Lockhart to get people.
Okay, which side of the road?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, either, just as long as people are driving down and they see a big sign that says, hey, there's actually
Okay.
something over here. There's
I
a
agree.
town over here
I
that you
agree
don't
with
know
you.
about. Both, I think they need to be both and they need to be common. I don't necessarily care what side of the street, but it needs to be visible. Okay. And not just that, I mean, if we have other opportunities to do 2 signs or 3 signs, why not? I mean, we need the more signs we can get, the better. Okay, so that's that. And then what we're asking for to launch the program is 34K. What we're left with, if you just go back just a little bit, I just want to be clear. What we're left with in the balance is 15,000. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that's not counting the money that we're going to get in from now until the end of the year, plus the 2025 monies. And then I believe that will help us continue our marketing programs. Because as I said, most of that money, that 34K, is going to be in fixed one-time costs that won't have to reoccur in subsequent years. So last slide, our request is for the city to approve our plan and budget of 34,000 to go ahead and start executing the plan.
I just wanted to make a comment about the logo. When we were doing the workshop earlier, one of the things that came up was the lady from Langford had commented that she noticed the old buildings out on the highway, and it felt to her kind of like Route 66.
Oh, Route 66.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I think a lot of people in town like the Believe in Martindale, but there are some people who don't. I don't think you have to stick to that. If you come up with maybe something that is like the farming flavor, or
Historic downtown.
like the historic red brick.
This is one of those areas that I will say we'll get lots of input from
Yeah.
different people, and ultimately we'll decide. We're not going to bring it to the city and for the logo. I'm telling you right now, we're not
I
going to have a city council meeting about who likes what logo. I want to be super clear that it's probably going to be between Mari, myself, Carlton, with your input, and we want your input, but ultimately we're going to decide what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to make that
No, I
comment from
appreciate
that
that.
workshop because I had never thought
done
of
it
it
so
as
many
Route
times.
66.
No, I
before.
love that idea, and then someone else will say, well, the river's the crown jewel, so it has to be water in it. And someone else is gonna say,
Right, yeah.
So we're just gonna have to collectively take all of that, and you're gonna be in the process for sure.
Just no billboard under Don's Fish Camp. That's all I'm saying,
Okay.
because you'll have a problem with me.
Well, I saw that one billboard just completely cratered. Yeah, karma.
No, we're not associated with it.
Yeah, but,
least
anyway,
I'm-
thank you very much for your time. Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how much are we currently spending every year on events?
Well, currently, we've been spending probably, let's see,
$14,000 about.
what, in
10 to
15,
15.
I think we did 7 for Tammy Fest. And see, those are kind of like, they're trying to make a multi-day events to get money from the hotel motel.
Yeah, no, we love events, and events are gonna be a big part of what we do moving forward, just not right now. But
Right,
in
right.
2025, we absolutely want to fund events, and they're great ways to bring new people to town.
So, yeah, it's probably about 15,000 because like when we did the bicycle rodeo, that came out of the child safety fund.
Yeah. So going forward, you haven't, I mean, I understand a lot of this is at one time. You haven't really established an idea of what you think the budget is going forward.
Well, we don't know yet because we don't know first of all, we don't know what the revenue rate is or will be. We have a lot of people that are not paying taxes. And so depending on your effectiveness of bringing in taxes, our budget can be even higher. We just don't know what that is. So we don't want to speculate and make up budget based on something we don't know.
If we have the foundation of a branding system with a logo and taglines and images and all of that stuff, we have a published website that's up and running. And if we have signage on 142 and Highway 80, that is so much more powerful than any single event we could ever do. Those 3 things in my mind have to be the priorities for that money because they're going to get the greatest return for heads and beds and the reason the money's taxed in the first place.
I agree.
Events are something that can amplify those fundamental building blocks of branding in a tourism program, but they shouldn't be leading and they shouldn't be the number one expense out of that program going forward. That's my personal.
That's a great opinion and I respect it very much, but I kind of see, I don't know if this is exactly where Matt was going, but I do feel like I need to hear more of a long-term strategy than just like, well, that depends on how much you do your job and collect from people that are staying here. Like where are you trying, like, even if you don't know dollar amounts, where are you trying to go? What is your long-term plan beyond getting signage up? Because I think that's great. That's a wonderful start.
Well, if you go.
And I'm
if
just
you go back-
curious. I just want to know.
Yeah, our long-term plan, if you go back a couple of slides where it says marketing programs, and this applies to just the last half of the year. All of these things will be in place and sort of the baseline. And then what we hope to add to that is events and other things we don't know about yet. So, and we may even seek out certain types of events to bring to the city that are more effective than others. So we're not prepared to have a very detailed long-term plan other than let's get the basics done. And then if we have enough money, we'll make a decision on whether it creates ROI and drives.
Well, that's ultimately my
Could I add
thing.
one thing? Could I add one thing? I think the goal is to create a destination marketing program, which has to be defined by a branding system, which is here. It has to have signage, has to have a website. We're going to create a destination marketing program whose goal is to establish Martindale as a popular location for tourists to come and visit for the day and spend the night. So it is a tourism and destination marketing.
Gotcha.
And how will you measure return on it?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. With the website, we can measure traffic coming in. We can even see where they're coming from. We can, with social media campaigns, we can get very specific on who's clicking, where they're going afterwards, where they're from, if they're sharing things, or liking things. There's a lot of metrics that we could get from both advertising.
We also need data on conversions. People will click on a lot of things, but without the conversions or the return on investment, it won't be helpful.
If I may, there's one particular site called AirDNA. And that's a site that scrapes all of the, what are called OTAs that scrape all of the channels like Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia. They can actually tell you, if you went there now and if you paid, I think it's $12 a month, you could actually see every Airbnb that's for rent in the Martindale zone, which they track. You can see how many rentals they have. You can see what their average rate per night is. You can see how much revenue they generate each year. So
and how will that help us?
Part of it is.
Hang on. You asked about how would we measure conversions?
Yes.
So if you know how many are being sold, how many nights in Martindale are being sold, and you have that as a baseline, and if you track that going forward, you can find out what your conversions.
I'll add some historical perspective. So what has often been stated by former council people, others in the community who operate these things are, I'm not paying that dang tax because it's not going to go to anything useful. And so I think part of the way to a carrot for compliance is a marketing program that benefits everybody who participates. The stick
Right. No,
that
that's
follows shortly after that is mandating compliance, and city councils and mayors of the past have been unwilling to mandate compliance because there hasn't been an economically useful path forward in the use of those funds. So it was an issue on both sides of the fence. One, people didn't want to pay, and two, the city councils and mayors in past didn't want to enforce compliance because there was nothing to collect the money for or purpose to have a return on. So I think a program like this solved both of those issues in one go. It provides that carrot in return to entice people to participate. And then it also shows a diligence on the city on creating those returns to go out and have motivation to enforce.
That
the
is
plan.
that is an absolutely fantastic explanation of why have this group and their mission. And I love that. Thank you for that. It doesn't particularly address the conversions and return on investment. However, both Craig and Maury have both addressed that. So I'm good with that part of it. Did you mention that you were gonna do the quarterly, I'm sorry, did you mention that you were, when you said, okay, wait, let me start over. When you said that you were doing a third-party fund management, did you mean, grammatically, I'm asking a grammatical question. Did you mean that you guys are the third party that's managing the funds, or did you mean you're hiring someone to manage?
No. It's us managing it. And this came out of a previous meeting before you joined the council.
Yeah.
We go to page 48.
Hey, real quick,
Or
this
46. I'm sorry.
Manny wants that. No, you want to ask a question?
So-
You want to ask a question?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
In the packet, you will find the ordinance that the city council passed just a few months ago addressing this issue and how the city would consider these proposals, evaluate them and approve them. I think there might be a few I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed, but this is generally the procedure that was envisioned when the ordinance was passed. So some of these things that you're also asking about, Laura, would come out of the contracting activity that would take place between the city and the Visit Martindale, visitmartindale.org.
Boy, it would be great though if I had that before the meeting started and before the presentation started. So maybe we could get those out with the 72-hour advance when you actually publish the agenda. We could get the handouts so that I could have already read that and not asked irrelevant questions. Would that be okay?
Understood.
Yeah, we were very slow this time.
Yeah.
Well, and so because of the T's and the process, I don't think the city council is in a position, or it's not my recommendation for city council to approve the budget and transfer funds tonight. I think we have to consider all the factors, see if it meets all the elements that are required as part of the proposal. One of the ones that sticks out to me is how the funds are going to be awarded to subrecipients, subcontracts. How are those vendors going to be selected? Is there going to be competition? Or those sort of things would want to be further clarified before I would encourage council to consider.
Well, I would
I thought that's
imagine
what I thought it was the last meeting that we had. We did that, but
anybody,
probably dotted the i's and the last meeting was opened up to vendors. And then here we are.
Yeah,
I thought we
so
already
Craig,
did that.
when do you understand that you submitted that information to the city, in your opinion?
Well, we've had 2 or 3 different meetings with the city over the last year.
Sure. So when's the last time that you think that you submitted what should be a votable?
It's in the notes. I don't remember.
February.
February. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think the city probably needs to step up about this stuff because like, if they've had it since February, probably we should have already received it so that we would have been prepared tonight when you made your presentation and could have voted on it.
So the ordinance envisions 2 processes that could potentially be followed. The first is a general proposal that somebody makes that has certain required elements. The second is an annual RFP process, request for proposals process, that would take place in conjunction with the annual budget setting and examined over the summer. It was not my intent I was not expecting a proposal to come in prior to that annual request for proposals process that would have outlined in detail the requirements in the ordinance. The proposal that is being reviewed tonight is incomplete against the standards that are included in the ordinance. If you want to go to page 45.
Could you not have told him that before they came to make the presentation? Didn't
I
you
was
have
out
it
of the
in
office.
advance?
This is the first I've seen it tonight. I was out of the office this last week and a half due to illness and other work commitments. So,
Well, what specifically are we lacking?
This is a
We can
bad
go through
look
it.
for us.
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
Of course you don't.
You just need this city council needs to
Stop.
What?
decide how they want to hit and how they want to spend these monies against a program like this. Me personally, I've been working towards this goal for a year. And,
So,
you know, and perhaps the city needs the comfort of an annual RFP process, but that seems like for $34,000 of marketing spend in total monies of however many years of 50 grand, it seems like a lot of process for not a whole lot.
so going to the requirements of proposals required generally, item C. It covers several items. The first is a discussion of proposed management supervision plan. We generally got that tonight. Most of it was an verbal description of those things, not written. The second item, a table of income and expenses associated, that generally was satisfied this evening. Number three, a discussion of financial management protocols to ensure compliance with section 3501, including a description of separate accounts, segregation of funds, maintenance and complete accurate financial records for each expenditure and method for making those financial records available for inspection. We talked about a quarterly review process, but not, and the fact that you have a bank account, but it didn't go into any of the controls that are required underneath the state statute of 35.101 for the procedures for distributing funds to subrecipients and subcontractors. How are you participating? How are you ensuring competition in your bid process? And a statement affirming your intent to create a fiduciary duty in the recipient of the hotel tax revenues and the use of those funds. I know you
Maybe
described
y'all
that.
could meet about this later.
So there's
Maybe
some
we can
items where
table
we
it
need to
and we
dot
can
some
meet
i's.
later.
Yeah, you go.
Spirit of this is not the
We
issue.
need one person at a
I was
time.
gonna make a comment. I would suggest we possibly table this for further discussion with these gentlemen and bring up the next city council meeting to fulfill the requirement. So when's our next city council meeting? In the June?
20th.
And we
2
can-
weeks.
It's Bill's birthday.
So I don't know how you feel, Jerry, be fine. We could sit down, talk. You have problems.
I think it's real simple fixes.
Yeah.
It's very
I
simple
mean, you think you can
fixes.
have it-
It
you guys
could
have
probably
done it?
take 30 minutes of us getting together.
You
and
have it done
sketching
by
out.
the next city council meeting.
My availability is an issue between now and the next city council. I'm on work-related travel next week. I'm not going to be in the office. I was not in the office this last week. I'm going to run into availability issues to prepare this in advance to meet the 72-hour request to have this available for city council. I don't think that's reasonable.
I mean, for the next city council meeting.
For the next city council.
Can you correspond with them by email?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Can you get with them? by
I
email?
think Adrian could handle
You know, or
it.
Adrian, can you work with Adrian?
Adrian's
Your
out for the
concerns?
next few
If someone could
days.
just help kind of summarize the legalese and kind of give us more,
Good.
just like simple things of like, okay,
Okay.
need a little more description on
I'll make
how
a
you set
motion.
your
I'll make
bank
a motion.
account and, you know, that kind of
He's
stuff.
okay.
But it's difficult for us to digest this and, because we're gonna come back with something and they're gonna be, well, it's incomplete, you know, we just need to work with someone, maybe a little more closely to help. fill in the
Yeah.
blanks.
I'll check Adrian's availability and then the 4 of us or
Okay.
5 of us could meet together and
Yeah.
hammer things out.
I'll send you and Craig an email on that when we can meet next and those tie those knots. This council meeting.
Say again, I didn't understand.
I'll send an
Say-
email to Craig and Maury so that we could tie the knot on those fine details to be compliant with the ordinance. How's that sound, Craig?
Let us know what we need to do and we'll do it.
Excellent. Sounds good. Very easy.
All right,
No, it's
okay.
Somebody, we'll figure it out.
Go ahead, make a motion.
Okay, you had made a motion. Who wants to second it?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
I,
So we're going.
Tabling, yeah.
Table
Okay,
it for the
any
next city council.
opposed? Yeah, till the 20th.
Sorry, guys. We'll work it out. Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, 3.3, Discussion on, are you guys ready for the next one? Okay, 3.3, discussion and possible action, discussion on compatibility of chapter 35 and ordinance 2024-0201, authorized use of the hotel tax revenue. Did we just go over that?
We just tabled it.
And that's
Part of the tabling.
We're
tabled?
tabling that next city council meeting.
So we're tabling 3.2 and 3.3?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
thank
See
you.
you, they will see you the 20th. Okay?
All right. See you.
Okay, the next one has to do with, the boards and commissions, considering the following applications for, positions for the Martindale Historic Preservation Commission, the River Advisory Board, and the Parks Advisory Board. So first of all, Adrian had a presentation on what ordinance says.
All right,
Adrian,
we'll
are
bring
you
that
still there?
presentation up. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Just as this is our first round of new terms that we're appointing folks. Now, it was brought to my attention by two council members that there's an error in the Parks Advisory Board for Ramon Rivera. We could, if council wants, we could amend that, or we could just do it the next meeting, reconsider his application. I'm also seeing that council doesn't have the applications in front of them. Most of these boards or applications are reappointments. So we would take that with a grain of salt there. So here I have the,
What he's talking about is 3.4D and 3.4C both say River Advisory. The bottom one should say Parks.
I apologize, guys. Doesn't look like it's in the agenda packet. So Jenna, could you check our chat for the board's presentation? I'm resending it if I haven't already to you. 1 minute.
While you're checking that, I also have a question about 3.4B, because I don't know if it should be tabled or not. I don't have any idea. I'm brand new. Regarding the last item about this commission, about the group with Maury and Carlton and Craig, I don't know if this is a real thing or just an idea that someone had suggested from administration that perhaps if you are part of that committee, you shouldn't be part of other committees. So
I believe that's what the presentation, we were gonna go over the ordinance.
Okay,
And
okay, I'm sorry. I'm just checking because I'm new.
No, that's fine. It's
Yeah,
just,
thank
we
you.
wanna inform the council about the ordinance that was passed about the boards and just ask their opinion about if we were to create this Visit Martindale, should the members that are now on Visit Martindale, excuse me, that if the people who are on Visit Martindale should also be on the Historic Commission.
Thank you.
All right, so Jenna, we check your computer just about now.
It looks
It
like
should
this.
There, it should be there now.
After 30. It's okay.
I got what happened.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah, excellent. If you want to hit the presentation button and then we'll get started.
It's working.
So I know how that screen is.
Come in fun yet?
It's been
It'll be a
time.
long one. But
A long night. I knew it was gonna be.
It's way past my bedtime. I'm up at 5.
I'm just glad y'all brought food. I'm telling you, that really helped. I would have been a little hangry.
Why did we do all three at one time?
Sorry?
Why did we do all three meetings on the same night?
Well, the first
Just to
meeting
make people
well,
grouchy.
was well, the first meeting was planned way ahead of time, and then that was matched to our council meeting day so that we could have a joint. So nobody has to come back a few times. And the last P and Z item is because we have a 30-day requirement to make a decision on. So just happened to all stack up together.
Maybe we could have a council survey where we talk about like, what are your preferences? Should we stack meetings or put them separate?
Yeah, we could entertain a discussion, but we have the presentation, just get it on tonight. So Jenna, we move over to the second slide. Right, so we're going to go over the overview of chapter 35, which is an ordinance that we adopted last year in January, kind of creating a boards and commissions procedures, expectations, and the like. And then some of the objectives of chapter 35 and why these rules are important. So we before most of our time here, it was kind of done loosely. These boards and commission meetings, some of them were being held in a park, sometimes they were being held in City Hall. There's not much coordination with council or staff. And that was just with everybody trying to make it fit with their schedule. But I think we've gotten adapted to the boards and commissions ordinance that now all our meetings are held at City Hall. We keep a record of every meeting at our City Hall. And there's more of a transcript now, a lineage of board and commission projects. Now, on the next slide, thank you. The process for getting on a board and commission, the application submitted to the city clerk, we hold it on record in cases for about a year, right about the time where the new council is appointed. The new council reviews the applications and then make a decision. Hopefully, eventually we'll have a full retention on all of our boards and commissions where it becomes a competitive role to get into. But right now, we're still filling seats. Memberships of all of our boards and commissions are a 5-member board for our historic, river, and park advisory board. This 5-person commission board is amendable by city council, but that hasn't been an issue as of yet. We do require that members of boards and commissions be residents of City of Martindale or in its ETJ. Members cannot serve more than one board simultaneously to kind of limit over influencing one board over the other and just keep board members concentrated on one mission at a time. And this is also, since the planning and zoning is also commission, you leave that to city council. It's up to city council if they want to assign people from the public, but at the moment, if best fits, that city council remains as the planning and zoning commission. Now, for terms of office, we try to kind of stay in that city council mentality where term limits are 2 years. We stagger them. So this year we're reassessing the odd numbers, and then next year we'll reassess I'm sorry, I misspoke. We're reassessing our odd numbers this year, even numbers this year. Next year we'll assess the odd numbers. The process for reappointment replacement is we present all the applications on the regular city council meeting, and the council will vote on each member who they think is best fit for those positions that they're applying for. Now, just a brief rundown of what every board does, and to help with your consideration for tonight. The River Advisory Board advises on environmental quality, anything related to subdivisions or pollution or just any kind of development. Essentially, they have some role in it. Just kind of give good advice to council about what's sustainable, like the previous cover, and just kind of have a second glance from the public on that. Hope to see their involvement in the comprehensive plan. So we'll get that. We'll get to that more down the line during the master planning phase. The Historic Preservation Commission, they meet on help regulating the historic district, advise council on what are historic guidelines and what makes a building historic. Laura previously was the chair of that board and the commission and did a fabulous job. And now we're hoping that the existing commission carries that torch of creating a guidelines for our historic district. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the parks. Our Parks Advisory Board helps regulate our rules, any kind of programming for recreational activities when fit. That's a nice discussion. Later tonight, we'll be discussing about naming a future park or our current parks to a series of possible names that they recommended to us. So those are the roles and scopes of each of the boards. Now that there's a reintroduction to what Chapter 35 does, I'll just leave it to council to now decide whether to reappoint the following members listed in the agenda. And if there's any questions from me about Chapter 35, I'd be happy to answer that.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks, Adrian.
Adrian, I think you said some clarification for the council. The people listed on the agenda, those are all reappointments?
No.
Not all of them. One is, there are two new appointees, Nicholas Styler for the River Advisory Board and Ramon Rivera for the, what's supposed to be named Parks Advisory Board on the agenda 3.4D. But if council believes it's best to table that, that should impact their meetings, since their meetings are on the fourth Monday of every month. The next time to reconsider his application would be Thursday, the third Thursday of this month, just in time before the regular meeting period.
Adrian, how many positions are available for the historic and for the river advisory?
So for the historic, we have 2 vacancies, and then with Carlton, he would fill in the 3rd seat, but without Carlton, we would have 3 vacancies, making the board not be able to commission or work out.
Okay.
And as far as the river, we have 5 total positions. 2 are for reappointment, and then Nicholas Slider is the outlier from that board.
So we only have 2 positions available?
Right. Yeah, so we haven't received any resignations, and we're considering the 2 even numbered positions for reappointment, which are Malcolm Johnson and Dorothy McGovern.
So I apologize. Part of going over this, there should have been one more thing on here to consider, was the question of if we do approve the new Martindale presentation that we just received from Maury Carlton. Yeah, Visit Martindale, thank you. That should we consider that that's like a board, and then they would not be eligible to be on other boards? We did not put that question on here. So we will have to visit that. Sorry, Laura, I didn't mean to stop you when we weren't considering that question. So that is a good question. We wanted to go over the ordinance and we want to be consistent. So if you want to consider these boards, since we made a couple mistakes here, at the next meeting, we can do that. It's up
No,
to the-
normally I would not mind just moving forward with it to facilitate getting more members on the boards. But that's like one half of the boards that have an error. And the one about the Chamber of Commerce like group, I think that's kind of significant. Because the status of the historical buildings, since they're all in historic Martindale, is kind of relevant to the work that the Chamber of Commerce is going to undertake in terms of the buildings and the conditions of the buildings and the ability of those buildings as they are to attract new businesses and whatnot. So I kind of feel like all of these errors need to be corrected first before I could vote on them. And then there's the whole issue of not having received any of it before they're being presented in my face. So I don't know. I feel like kind of like I'm making a wall in the middle of progress. And on the other hand, I don't think that low expectations for city council stuff is going to be the way to elevate our city council. So I would
So
rather.
would you like to make a motion to table it?
Yes,
until
I would
next
like to,
meeting?
I would like to table it and come back next time. And then maybe it encourages us to be better next time. But I mean, if everyone else wants to go forward, I'm fine with going forward.
Are you making a motion or?
Yes, I said I would like to motion that we table it until next time.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
You want to do it now? You want to vote now?
Yes.
Well, right now, there's a motion and a second on the floor to table.
I'd like to have discussion.
Okay, I was.
I'd like to have
asking
discussion.
if there was any discussion.
I'm tired. You've kept me way past my bedtime. I'm up at 5 a.m. This is way past my bedtime. So I'm a little slow at this point. I'm drinking your sugar.
What discussion would you like to have?
You guys want to take care of this tonight, or do you guys care?
Discuss it.
Mhm.
Yeah, discuss.
Do you want to vote on some of these now, or you want to wait till?
What do you think?
Well, the motion on the table
Table it.
is to table
you're
it, so.
discussing about if we want to table.
Yeah,
it or
so
not.
say like the positives and the negatives.
I mean, do we need to do this right now?
You probably need to do it for the historic commission because they don't have a quorum.
When is their next meeting?
They
But
just
he's
had
not
one,
busy.
They just
not
had one a week
voting.
ago.
right, and that was his last one. It
Yeah,
might,
that's right.
it may be, it's likely the case that if a certificate of appropriateness for the historic preservation comes in, that we lack a quorum within the historic commission in order to consider.
Well, they have not
They
had
have
a
a
meeting.
quorum.
So,
They have a
They
quorum.
have not had a quorum at the last two meetings. They were supposed to, there were two members who showed up and it had not been published, so they could not have a meeting.
Right, and then the last one, there are three members and one of them was sick last time. So there is a quorum. There's three members if they all are there at the same time.
So the
My
last two
my
weeks,
understanding is that the 5-person board had 2 resignations and a 3rd person seat has expired. So there's only 2 people on the board
And the
today.
quorum stays the same, no
And the
matter.
quorum
how
still
many-
is required 3. That's my understanding.
Well, this is a significant issue because we need to vote on whether or not they can still be part of it. And we have no information. We don't even have his application.
So the question is,
they don't have any applications.
if something comes before the historic committee and needs a certificate of appropriateness, and they don't have a commission, then does it come to council?
No, that's only on appeal unless the person appeals it.
Yeah, I would think it would.
There's a chance that action would not be taken by the commission
That's
And
what
it
they've
would
done
be
in the
approved by
past.
default.
It would be probably approved by default.
I'll say one thing about the
No,
historic
it has
committee.
not been approved by default in the past. It has just not been heard until they meet. And sometimes that's been 2 or 3 months. I'm not arguing that that's a good model, but that has been the model. Because I have had issues before the historic commission that have taken that long.
The state has passed statutes recently that things touching upon building plans, if they're not approved within, I think it's 30 days, then they are approved by default. That's not an ordinance thing. I think that's a
But
state
according
statute.
to the ordinance, they have 45 days.
So that ordinance may be out.
My question then is,
I'm just raising it as a potential issue.
I think that's
Yeah, no.
important and we need to know that.
my question is, so we don't know if we have a safety net in the city council as the,
We would have to
as
pass an
normal.
ordinance.
That's why I'm asking, we need to ask we need to do that research to see if it's automatically a default,
Yes,
a
we would.
default.
Full chapter.
So, Jared, you would recommend we table it?
I'm fine with tabling the river advisory and the parks advisory. I would recommend proceeding on a vote to ensure a quorum for the historic commission. And if there's an issue concerning the makeup of somebody serving on a nonprofit, well,
So
shoot,
pass
we
it
have
tonight?
plenty of
I'm
people
sorry.
involved in
What?
the river advisory board who participate in nonprofits. I don't
That's
see
not the same
participation in
thing.
nonprofit to weigh upon the advice that they would give in their review, in the duties that they're charged with by city council.
I'm gonna say one thing though, that the failure that I've seen of all these committees in the past year is that they are supposed to meet on a monthly basis if they have something to talk about, or even if they don't. If they don't have something to talk about, then they create agenda and talk about it. The most recent things that have come up by the Historic Committee for certificate of appropriateness have been passed by the Historic Committee, but none of those agenda items, none of those certificate of appropriateness have ever recently been submitted to the city council for their perusal, for their advice, for anything. It's the failure of the city to make sure that these committees report on a regular basis to the council. That has been a failure of the city and the city council to make sure that these committees report to us on a regular basis. They have not been doing that for the past year. We have these meetings. I have attended endless meetings of the Parks Advisory Committee. I have attended endless meetings of the Historic Committee. None of those agenda items have been presented to the city council in months. And I
But
think you can verify that
The
as
purpose
well.
of the advisory boards is to take some of the load off of city council.
But they are not
So if
advising
they-
us about anything.
so
They
if
don't tell
they-
us about anything that is
So
passed of
just a moment.
certificate of appropriateness on the Historic Committee. Things on
We
the
haven't had any,
historic.
Sam. We've had no certificate of appropriatenesses in months. We haven't had any, not even one.
We
had
have,
one,
but they
and it
haven't been
was
presented
withdrawn
to
on
the
the last
council.
meeting.
But they don't, according to the ordinance, they do not need to be presented to the council because the historic commission is dealing with those. All they need to do is when a citizen wants to do something to their property, they come to the office, they fill out the proper paperwork, we assign a number, we forward it to the historic commission per ordinance, and then they deal with it. The only reason that the city council would even see that is if the homeowner disagreed with the decision of the historic commission. And it's right in the ordinance if you read the procedure. Now, one of the things under Laura that they've been trying to do is come up with guidelines for how the commission would deal with the actual issue, whether somebody should have bricks versus stone, or what the vision is for the commission to keep the town in a certain look. Yes.
So perhaps maybe we should table it, maybe to the next city council meeting, and perhaps we could get more people to apply for that position,
Yes.
okay?
Okay, in response, Sam, I agree your point, but to be honest with you, in most of the committees, at least the River Committee, there has not been anything where they're actually making a recommendation to council. So there is no reporting. The reporting, and that's what I think Laura is referring to, there's no COAs. You know, there's really, they don't have to. The fact that there is a meeting, you attend the River, I attend the Rivers. We want to hear about it, we're there, but if they have nothing to actually make a recommendation to the council, technically, there's nothing to report, you know?
Agree with that.
Well, then by all means, be the one who actually reports the activities of the River Committee to the council.
Has been.
There has
The River
been,
Advisory Committee has given the city recommendations that have not been presented.
No, what Sam is referring
on the
to,
agenda.
what Kim is saying is yes, you need to get on the agenda.
Yes.
Well-
And how do I do that?
And you need to send an email to the mayor. And if the mayor ignores you, then you send it to your husband.
That's
And your
because I
husband
forget.
will come
Because I'm
over and
really-
harass the mayor.
I'm
Running up
so
the mountain
Sam,
for the mini pitch.
so, you know, the River Advisory Committee over the past.
Oh, don't go there. Don't go there.
We have a motion.
Yeah,
This is going way off topic. I'm
And-
responding to
We have a
Sam's
motion.
question.
We have a motion.
I was giving you time to research.
There's nothing in
We have a
here talking
motion
about
on the
council.
table. Let's just vote.
Just go back up.
The table, that's all we're talking about.
There's a
is
gap.
table the motion.
We're gonna have one more comment
Okay.
here.
So the question was asked, is the city council a backup board for these things? Not specifically or explicitly stated in our ordinance, either in chapter 35, which covers boards generally, or chapter 151, which covers historic preservation specifically. So that likely goes to some default rule under state general law, which may come to the council, but it's not definitively stated in our ordinances.
Yeah, there are specific guidelines for how to submit a certificate of appropriateness.
Well, my question was, if there is not a quorum available for the historic committee, would the city council then pay the backup for that person's argument to be heard within a timely manner? And Jared's answer is, there is no specific rule that says that is the fact. Is that correct?
Nothing in our ordinance. There may be something, some general law and state statute we could rely on to do that.
And this is an unusual situation. This has not happened in quite some time where because what's happened in the past is once you're on it, you're just kind of on it. And
Yeah.
I know Quentin just got off the Parks Board, Historic Commission, because he realized he could. Because we're trying to get this.
I'm not kidding, that's so
formal.
true.
We're trying to get this more formal where every May, June timeframe, we said May, that the city council has to realize that there's stuff that they need to deal with on these boards and commissions. So we're getting there. So it's getting better. So, okay, so we have a motion to table it until next meeting, and we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Did you say you're opposed?
I'll say I will table it.
Okay, so it's tabled. So we have one last item oh no, I forgot about the naming of the Martindale Park.
I make a
So
motion,
this-
we table that till the next meeting.
This is something that the Parks Department said we would like the city council to think about these names. And so we did bring this forward, and then I added 3.5. I said, okay, these are the top 5 names that the Parks Department recommended, but the city council might have other alternatives.
I'll make a motion to table this.
Okay,
Martindale Advisory Board, recommending to renaming phase 1. We're way too early to do this.
I second.
Okay, you wanna, okay,
so you want to table it indefinitely?
no, just
To
table it.
next meeting?
Next month.
I think we're way ahead of ourselves. We've got multiple properties. We have to get all these properties together. You know, I think it's way too early. And I want to talk personally about this. I would like to have somebody, well, I've got such and such, I will donate to the city. I will donate. Well, if you donate, we'll name the park out of it or something.
Well, we have someone who donated something
Yeah.
for the mini pitch.
But I'm saying, yeah, you go, that hasn't been established yet. I think we're way ahead of ourselves. So I'll make a motion to table it
So not indefinitely, but for how
in the
long?
foreseeable future.
Okay.
Next month, you can put it on the first meeting next month.
Okay, so is there a second?
I second Mike.
Okay, so there's a motion to table this item and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Wait. Okay, but can I just ask a question of procedure? So when was
Yeah.
the discussion? Like Mike said, I will make the motion. So then there's discussion and then there's a vote? Like when he seconded it was the end of the
Yeah.
discussion?
He made a motion, then there's second, and then there's discussion.
So
And
then
there's a
we
vote.
skipped the discussion. We just said, okay, aye.
No, we had
We
discussion.
just had discussion.
When was it?
We did. Did you have a comment about this, Laura?
She didn't hear you.
That's what sounds difficult, man.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to follow the procedure of like how it's supposed to work.
Well, yes, there's usually a motion and a second, then there's discussion, and then there's a vote.
Okay.
So if you had discussion and I didn't hear you, I would like you to say your
discuss it.
comment.
No, we voted. I just want to let it go. I just want to let it ride, but I don't want to like cause us to go back and revote. Like I don't agree that it's way too soon to name it because like it's been open for 2 years, 3 years, like a long time. It needs a name. And at this point, if anybody was going to donate money to it or whatever, like that would have already happened. And then we could name it after them if we had already promised them that, but we didn't. It's just been phase one forever. But on the other hand, like I don't care. We voted, let it ride. I'm just saying, I think discussion is an important point to anyone's comment or motion. That's all. I just want to follow the rules.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, we do have one last item before we do planning and zoning.
That's right. Planning.
So I felt that it was a really good idea to have a budget calendar, so that the public would know and the city council would know when we need to have the public hearings for our upcoming budget. So Jared has put this together, so
Yeah, basically, we have to set an annual budget before the end of September. As a point in the sand, chose the first regularly scheduled meeting in September as the ideal spot to target to pass the budget. So all the dates from that flow according to state statute and in terms of public notice hearing requirements and publishing of the draft budget. The one item on the critical path to approving the budget is getting the certified appraisal rolls and estimated taxable value. That's not due to the city until near the end of July, which really hurts.
Yep.
And we've used some estimation techniques to get around it, and typically we've been pretty close within a few $1,000s. So that's what we're going to likely do when we come to our first city council budget workshop in July. But because of the anticipated changes that are going to be necessary, again, probably in the ballpark of $2,000 to $5,000 of less or more, we'll want to have a second follow-up workshop in advance, in enough time to make our August 5th draft publishing date. So that doesn't give us a lot of options. I went ahead and proposed on the budget calendar, tentatively planning for a specially called city council meeting the week of July, or on July 25th. on the same day we get those estimated rolls in. The difficulty is the read aheads. You're not going to get a read ahead really until you come, because that valuation is due that day. But we are having a city council workshop just the week prior, and we'll be going through all the data, and the changes should be pretty small.
Yeah, same as last time.
And so, also that week difference, we can adjust any budgets that are needed for, based on feedback from city council. That's basically it. Any questions?
I make a motion to approve this,
Budget.
budget calendar.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We're open for
Discussion.
discussion. And I'm not making fun. Can Laura hear me?
Well, can she hear us?
I can hear you. Yes, I hear all of you.
Okay, so we're
I
open for
apologize.
discussion.
I totally apologize. I'm just trying to get it straight because I'm new.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
Laura,
That's
Laura,
fine.
Zoom is very difficult.
It is.
Extremely difficult for everyone.
So we feel for you.
We feel for you. I have been through this before. Trust me. So.
Did you have any
I don't mean
questions?
any offense. I don't mean to insult anyone. And I'm in favor.
No, you're, okay. So, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And now can we have a motion to adjourn, and then we will start the P and Z
I
meeting.
make a motion, we adjourn this wonderfully long meeting at 9:25.
I second that.
Everyone seconds that one.
Okay, Mike, it's all yours.
Okay, planning zoning at City of Martin planning zoning meeting starting at 9:25 p.m., June 6th, 2024. I don't need to do a roll call.
Yes, you do.
Do a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, roll call. Catherine Glaze,
Here.
Terry Warner,
Here.
Matthew McGovern,
Here.
Laura Sanchez,
Yes, here.
and I'm here. Okay,
What about Sam?
Sam,
I'm the co-chair.
you're the
remember?
co-chair, buddy.
This is the first I've heard about this sign,
We
but
don't
that's
need to
all
do
right.
the
Did we do a
pledge.
pledge allegiance?
No, we don't.
Did we do the-
No, you can skip that.
We'll skip that. Okay, any public comments?
Plumville.
Any comments?
If you say anything, I'm gonna hurt you.
Emails, Fran? Is there any emails?
Dorothy,
Fran?
rock on, girl.
I forgot to get the library report.
Oh, she's gonna get you.
Did you really have a library report? You're full of it. But that was funny though. Yeah.
Kate,
Killer though.
Adrian.
Hey, Mike.
you
So,
there? Can you show the application and the sign that they're proposing?
yeah, so it's in
Adrian,
attachments below. Page 3 should have the application from Landoval. So what is happening is the developers for the Riverview subdivision want to place a advertisement sign on the corner of Fall Run, the intersection of Highway 80, that's seen on the screen. And here is their design for their sign. Now, all that said, they did meet. There's very little expectations from the scenic corridor, other than presenting the sign. So what we are inspecting is whether this is a good fit for something on Highway 80 that, you know, doesn't defame the city or have any offensive content on it. But there's not really guidelines about the size of the text. This sign would be then evaluated with a building permit for appropriate signage rules in chapter 152, I want to say. If there's any problems with this, with the graphic design for the Riverview subdivision.
Why
and now's
would
the
they
time
need
to
a
open.
building?
They don't need a building permit, just a sign, isn't it?
Right, so the building permit will come after, but they first have to get approval from council since it's in the scenic corridor.
Okay, now, or is it out of the easement, the text dot easement sign?
Yeah, so they'll be pushed back.
Yes.
They'll be pushed back from that easement, and the only thing that they'll be evaluated on during the building permit process is that it's wind resistant and isn't going to blow off into the traffic. But my recommendation would be approve this, the sign. It seems pretty standard for
Hey,
a
Adrian,
realtor.
could you scroll back up and put the application in so we can look at it?
Just the lower half. We don't want to display
Oh.
their personal contact information.
Okay, well, basically what I could see is it's on a 4x8 piece of plywood with this sign attached to it. That's what the application says. And basically they already have a sign up on Northwest River Road already.
Yes.
It's already up. So, and any discussion with you people? Anybody has concerns about this?
Why are we voting on this?
It's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
Because it's for the scenic corridor.
So if we let them do it, we have to let everyone.
Well, it's
Well-
not gonna be all that permanent. It's just so they can.
Can I read it? I'll read off this thing. It basically says, this is their it says install a sign measuring 8 feet by 4 feet at the corner of Highway 80, Well Run Road. The sign will be made of MDL material and 1/2-inch thick plywood substrate. It will be single-sided and installed on a 4-inch diameter wooden beam. So that's what they're applying for. As long as it's definitely not in TxDOT's right of way, and like Adrian said, we don't want to block. The only concern, can you scroll back up, Adrian, to their properties? Back to the one with the
I'm not
sign.
controlling the screen, but yes, so it should be page 4 where the location
You
of the
go-
property
you put
is.
You put it on the screen for me. The only concern, I just thought about this. The only concern I have, and Rick can probably assist, we want to make sure that that does not block the visibility. If you're pulling up on Quail Run, that does not block your view of the oncoming traffic on Highway 80.
So if I remember off the top of my head correctly, I think there's about 50-foot setback on the sign. So easing up on Highway 80 from Quail Run, I think you should be relatively
Okay, so
fine.
there's no visual blockage of traffic, oncoming traffic. Okay, that's my question.
I wonder if people are even going to see it because it's going to be kind of down and going.
Go ahead.
TxDOT,
You could be,
TxDOT has like 16-foot easement, don't they?
It's big.
you could talk. Go
Thank you. I
ahead.
just want to make it, actually, to ask a question. Where it's gonna be and how big it's gonna be. How
4
big
by
are
8.
I understand, I can't do that. I don't know what that means.
You know, that's
No,
about-
no, no,
that-
the
that's
question
about-
is, are people gonna slow down and we try to write down that number? There is a lot of text in there.
Text is way too small
It's
for that
way-
size of
yeah.
sign. I'm telling you
So-
right now.
I was like,
Dorothy's concern is,
You don't have to pass it.
Dorothy's concern is very valid.
I
You are
mean,
not gonna be able to read turn at Quail Run Road at all in
a
this sign.
peaceful life near the river, blah, 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 blah. So people are they're gonna wanna look at it, they're gonna wanna know what it says. But they're gonna be viewing this from on Highway 80 or from 12?
Both of the corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are they putting up 2 signs?
They've already had one sign already on Northwest River Road.
But
Yeah,
it's not on
Northwest.
the corner, it's on Highway 80
I
before
know
you
that,
get
but
to
they already
Quail
have a
Run.
sign up now. They're gonna put another one on Northwest.
On their other property.
Correct.
How many signs are they gonna put up?
Just one more.
Just one, just that one.
Two
Just
total,
one?
2 total.
Well, I assume it's to be double-sided, but they're proposing a one sign there. Because if you look at this, how the sign's pointing, it's actually, you're looking at it from east to west. You're not gonna see it, at least you can tell where the Quail Run is pointing to. So if you're going from Lowland to San Marcos, for instance, you're gonna see it that way, but the turn to Quail Run, I guess would point to the other side of Quail Run, but those aren't the Riverview lots.
In your assessment, Adrian, of the proposal, was there anything within it or in the application that would violate the ordinance to where we would deny? Or do you make the
Um,
recommendation to deny?
Well, There's a good concern about visibility and it being distracting in the purpose of chapter 150.026 of the scenic corridor. I'll quote it here. Enhance the visual quality of the two principal gateways leading into the city while facilitating traffic flow and providing for the safety of motorists, pedestrians, cyclists, and landowners. If this is seen as a hazard because the text is too small, if you want to make that argument to them, they can, but they have provided the building size, the exterior details, and the materials related to the application. But if council wants to make the argument that this could impede vision, or if this is gonna be distracting to people on the highway, then have to use your judgment there, council.
I have a question for Rick. Rick, do you have a problem, from a police officer's point of view, do you have any concerns about this sign? Being on highway, is it gonna be an issue, you think, for a safety concern? And
You're on the hot seat now.
You're on the hot seat, man.
Oh, that's the sign.
Where's he?
This is a.
Show it,
80 and Quail Run.
show it the side, show it, up there, Rick, it's up there. Quail Run and Highway 80,
Better up there.
it'll be a 4x8 sign.
What side of Quail Run are we talking about? Because Quail runs on both sides of Highway 80. Are
It's
we
gonna be
talking?
this side of the city.
Because that's their prop, there's a lot 25 is right there. It's on our side.
It's across from Harold Hamish's trophy business.
I agree with Dorothy that it's got too many words on
Hang
it.
on, wait a minute,
Okay.
Rick, you're.
I don't think 4x8 would
Be a problem.
be a problem.
And we see garage sale signs all the time. I mean, you don't, as a police officer, you don't see a safety issue here. Okay, thank you.
I agree with Dorothy, though, that the verbiage on there, it could we go back to the sign? I mean, does it really matter to know that she's a Team Price Real Estate? I mean, it's like, well, what do you look at? You look at the phone number first, you look at Quail Run and Turn. Do we care that she's a Team Price Real Estate? I think it's got too many words on it.
I don't think that violates the scenic corridor.
Okay, then pass it then.
No,
Doesn't
make a
matter.
motion, Sam Clinton.
I'm not doing anything.
I think that we have to pass or deny what's
We have, yeah.
what's
that's
being
right.
presented. I don't
Exactly
I
what it
don't
is.
think we
So,
can.
do we have a motion? Do you have the motion here?
If you want to go home, make a motion.
Go for it, Jerry.
Either to approve
Yeah.
it or deny.
Here you go, bring yourself in here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the sign for,
No, you're,
Land of
read it.
all.
You
Just read it, from-
certificate of appropriateness from,
We
Well,
didn't,
go back up to-
we don't have anything.
We got it. Okay.
on
No,
the iPad.
we didn't get that.
So there, discussion, so you're, make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness and then from that vendor.
okay, I make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness and the rest I can't see.
Application.
Application from,
I can't see that.
Basara
Yeah,
Asset Fund 1 to place a 8-foot by 4-foot sign to the intersection of State Highway 80 and Quail Run. Proposed signage shall be located on property PID 27854.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hey, you're running this meeting. I'm sorry.
Well, you just used to it. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion? Laura?
No,
Discussion.
no, sir, you're in charge.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All passes. Is it Mr. Is that a nay or a yay?
huh?
Did you say yea or?
I'm abstaining. I'm not.
Okay, one abstain and
Four
Laura,
yes.
Laura, how do you vote?
I vote in favor, sir.
You're in favor, so it's 4-1.
Yes, so the
Okay,
motion
it
carries.
passes.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to adjourn the silliness?
Well, we gotta close the meeting out
I
at
know.
9:38.
May I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:38?
I second that.
You can't second
All
it.
in
You're the
favor?
chairman, you silly.
I'll second it then.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
That's all right.